Alex, it's pretty amazing. When Trump came on your show, he said, give me a year. I think you'll be impressed. Here we are just over a year into it, and I think we're more than impressed.
Well, that's what real victory is delivering. And after decades of betrayal, people just can't believe we've got somebody actually trying to deliver. Doesn't mean he's perfect. None of us are. But think about this. The clip's coming out in the next segment. MSNBC, CNBC, ABC News, CNN contributors, anchors are all saying, if Trump can do this in Korea, in North Korea, when no other president could, since the 1950s when we had the Korean War, he will be the greatest president in history. We're facing nuclear war. We're facing this trigger being the #1 threat by humans against humans. Of course, there's asteroids or things like that are controlled by us. Meanwhile, though, even though real analysts having a moment of honesty, because imagine a lot of people want to tell the truth on these stations. I mean, they want to actually give their information. They want to give their real knowledge, but they have to sit there and twist it and lie instead. But at this moment, they admit, okay, this is really important. This is really a big victory. Making North Korea come to the table, making Kim Jong-un do this with all the pressure we put on, this has worked so far. This is huge. The fact that he wants to come to the table, met for 4 hours with the South Korean intelligence chief and others. Reportedly, they've already got a deal ready to green light, to modernize North Korea, to start freeing their people, just like Trump made a deal with Saudi Arabia 6 months ago. You're going to let women go to college. You're going to let them drive cars. You're going to let them be in the military, and you're going to phase out. Making women wear burqas and chopping people's heads off. And they signed on the dotted line. Did he get praised by the feminists? Did he get praised by the modern liberals? No. This is real American modernization. This is real Eisenhower-style policies that we haven't had since 1961 when he left office. It was still nation building, but it was real nation building. Then the corruption came in after that, after Kennedy was killed, and it became purely about domination and control. Carl Quigley wrote his internal book for the CIA and the State Department admitting they were going to fund fascist, communist, socialist, as long as it was authoritarian, oligarchs, you name it. So imagine, they're admitting that Trump is doing something that nobody else has done, and we're having victory and success, maverick success on every front. And the globalists get more panicked as Trump becomes successful. And so what's the other big story? Stormy Daniels from a decade ago. And this is the issue, not trying to stop nuclear war, not bringing the economy back, not taking care of the veterans, not securing our borders, not deporting people that are multiple felons. None of that's important. It's all what a man supposedly did. This shows you how these people are endangering the whole planet's future with their obsession with disinformation. And then, of course, coming up in the next segment, we'll also get into the clip of him calling out Mr. Cohn as being a globalist in a friendly way, but a very, very powerful way. We've got that as well, Owen. I know you've got a full raft as well.
It's really incredible just seeing all of this, and we haven't even mentioned the fact that the latest jobs numbers have just come out, and again, gangbusters, record numbers of Americans working. How about the fact that you've got black unemployment at all-time lows, Hispanic unemployment approaching all-time lows? But once again, Alex, just like the issue of nuclear war, the liberals are silent on this. In fact, they'll tell you the exact opposite is going on. They'll tell you Trump doesn't want black people to work and doesn't want Hispanic people to work, even though the exact opposite is what's happening.
Well, that's right. And they say it's anti-Semitic to say globalism when globalism is run by the communist Chinese president and Juncker of the EU. They are the guys propping up globalism. Did globalism get its start in the UK and the US using our power to build it? Yes. But it started here. It's dying here because it's a fraud. It's anti-productivity. It's anti-human. It's anti-prosperity. It's a eugenics-based, neo-feudalistic world system of colonialism by a breakaway civilization against all other free humans on Earth. And the technocrats that run it will be defeated.
That's Alex Jones reporting from the road. We're going to hear more from Alex on the other side. Don't go anywhere. This is the Alex Jones Show, Infowars.com. Well, I'll tell you, I got up today and saw the headlines and lots of good news. I mean, today is a day where we crossed the threshold of all the negativity that we've been dealing with in the past. And now we look at all the good news. We look at the jobs returning in record number, black unemployment reaching lows, Hispanic unemployment reaching lows. They said it was impossible to make a deal with North Korea, yet here we are today, and shocking the liberal press, in fact, shocking them so much they don't even want to report on it, North Korea has invited Donald Trump to have a meeting with Kim Jong-un. This is truly a historic day. Alex Jones is with us reporting from the road on all of this breaking news. Alex, I think we're very impressed with what President Trump has done. He's not perfect, but he's gotten in office. He's fulfilled a lot of his promises, and that alone is more than any other president I've seen in my life.
Well, he's definitely on his way to being the greatest U.S. president ever, and he's only 14, 15 months in. And let's talk about this. They said when he was president-elect, Michael Moore and others, that his big test would be North Korea and that it would embarrass him and that he would be defeated because they knew that the Clinton Foundation, through the Communist Chinese, was going to have him threaten nuclear attacks, do all these provocative missile tests, make all these incredibly provocative statements that we'll nuke you first, preemptively, and all the rest of it, believing that Trump would back down. When our military and Trump and the American people didn't back down, when that didn't happen, he now met a week ago, after preliminary talks at the Winter Olympics in South Korea, he then met with Kim Jong-un, the third-generation dictator of North Korea, met with the heads of intelligence and military from South Korea. And on the table at that meeting was, you want a meeting with Trump? Here's what it is. You're going to completely give up the nukes. You're going to let inspectors in, including U.S. inspectors. You're going to dismantle it all. And in turn, we're going to give you more than $10 billion a year, which, by the way, it's costing us $100 billion to keep this thing going, so it's a good deal, to go in and build power plants, industry, you name it. Now, Kim Jong-un has come out and said, on the table, all of our nuke weapons, our delivery systems, everything. On the table is unification talks to have a 10-year plan to, just like they did with East Germany and West Germany, merge the two. It can be done. And to have that aging, bizarre Communist Party have a segue out and be like the Communist Chinese and still sit on top of these lucrative industries and actually be billionaires, which is still a corrupt deal, but it's better for the people, and it's a segue away from what they've been. So China doesn't want North Korea to become industrial. It's had many wars with the Koreans. They're actually controlling it. Their main enemy is China. China controls them. China ran the invasion in 1950. Now, there's one grain of truth in the media. They're saying, oh, my God, this is a Putin plan. Putin has done this to make Trump look good and save him from Stormy Daniels. No. Russia borders North Korea, and Russia is the key player between China and the U.S. And Russia has been signaling in the last year that they would support the U.S., at least tacitly, if North Korea continues to be belligerent. So it was Russia behind the scenes becoming neutral and that basically forced China's hand. And so now you're seeing a real chance for the people of North Korea, but only by getting out of this strategic patience position we've been in for 50 years that the UN put us in whenever they removed Douglas MacArthur and the rest of it and didn't let us kick the Communist Chinese out of the area. So the Communist Chinese are trying to keep the Koreans down. I mean, just look at South Korea, the most productive country in the world, versus communism in the north, the most hellish, cannibalistic hell on earth you can imagine. This is the two dichotomies right here, and it's being used as a set piece by the globalists behind the scenes with Communist China. Remember, the globalists set up Communist China. They've taken over the Vatican. They run radical Islam. They run Hollywood, and it is that combine of groups that are openly at war with the West, with free market. So there's a natural alliance. Japan, South Korea, of course, Australia and others fall in. You've got Russia is critical of the resources, the military, the science, and just geographically being on the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans as well as the Arctic and bordering the Middle East, Central Asia, controls the grand chessboard. Then you have the United States with all its science, technology, military culture. The UK, as you know, obviously the leader of Europe, taking down the EU bureaucracy. So you have the EU bureaucracy, you have the corrupt globalist Pope, you have the Communist Chinese, you have the radical Islamists, you have Hollywood, and the globalist left. I've forgotten the EU dictatorship in Juncker, the Nazi heir. So that's the combine, that's the true Axis powers against us, and the logical move for resources and culture and Christendom would be to strategically now partner with Russia, something the Bolsheviks went in 1917 preemptively because they already saw a U.S.-Russian alliance that kept happening throughout history to dynamite that in place. So real strategic minds that want a true American 21st century and a human 21st century have made this move for a new alliance everybody's seeing. And so when they say Russia collusion, yes, there is Russia collusion, but only culturally via not wanting to commit suicide and be under globalist, political correct technocracy that they call Bolshevikism. It's really a scientific form of and create a road towards unification for South Korea and North Korea, he will be the greatest U.S. president ever. So let's go ahead and play that clip.
All right. Well, thanks very much to all of you. Just an extraordinary evening and, of course, opening the door to the big question. If President Trump can truly solve this problem, that would be going down as a great president. And there's no way around that. That is the reality here. Thank you all.
Now, continuing, I've got another clip I want to get into here, and this is yesterday during a 30-minute talk he gave about tariffs and trade, where they have all these unfair deals, and all of the same globalists telling us what a horrible deal it is when we have basically deindustrialized our nation, and China's ramping up to completely kill our aluminum and steel, what's left. Gary Cohn is outgoing. And Cohn was the top economic advisor. And Trump says, oh, he's a great guy. He really believes in globalism. But, man, I tell you, he's now going out the door. So he's stating it's nationalism versus globalism in this critical talk. And he's doing it in a nice way, but basically kicking Cohn out the door as he goes, pointing out that he didn't like these trade deals. He didn't like us standing up against the prohibitory low taxes and things and regulations that China has that are unfairly penalizing this nation. So it's an opening shot, and here he is pointing out it's Americanism, not globalism. Yet again, here it is.
Our greatest presidents, from Washington to Jackson to Lincoln to McKinley and others, they protected our country from outside influence, from other countries coming in and stealing our wealth and stealing our jobs and stealing our companies. And we're going to be very fair, we're going to be very flexible, but we're going to protect the American worker, as I said I would do in my campaign. This is Gary Cohn's last meeting in the cabinet and of the cabinet, and he's been terrific. He may be a globalist, but I still like him. He is seriously a globalist, there's no question. But you know what? In his own way, he's a nationalist because he loves our country. And where is Gary? You love our country.
Okay, that's good. Now, what did he really just say in such a smooth way, not slick, smooth? He just said, our greatest presidents didn't sell the country out. They built it up. We got one-sided deals. I want real reciprocal deals. Like when a man and woman get married, it works out for both. It's called symbiosis. It's called being symbiotic. And he says, we've got enemies trying to abuse this country. Next statement, oh, Mr. Cohn, he's a globalist. These foreign outside powers want to come in and abuse us. But, I think he's a nice guy. You love America, don't you? Don't you, Gary? So he's sitting there stating, what team are you on, America? I've said this thousands of times. As soon as we figure out there's nationalism and free market versus globalism and crony capitalist tyranny, people are going to choose what works every time. Nationalist, capitalism, free market, cultures, different ideas, different nations that work together, but different places you can go with different ideas that fit the worldview and the culture that you want to help build. You want to go to North Korea, you want to go to Venezuela, you want to go to all these other failures, go there. But no, everybody wants to come here, and they get brainwashed by the big universities, paid by the big banks, to push socialism because they want to handicap all the young people because the corporations don't want competition. Because the next Nikola Tesla or the next Alexander Graham Bell or the next, person is George Washington Carver is just waiting there. The next Einstein, the next Max Planck. We'll be back.
So here we are, and Trump is trying to rejuvenate the American manufacturing industry, the economy, the jobs market. You're seeing all of that happening right now. And as Alex has described so many times in the past, what they've done to our industry, what they've done to our energy production, what they've done overall to America's ability to grow its GDP has basically been like a sprinter trying to sprint with lead boots on against competitors that are wearing the latest Nikes. It's just not fair. It's impossible to keep up. Well, Trump has taken the boots off, given us the newest Nikes, and now we're sprinting to the finish line, and the numbers are in. More Americans are working now than ever. Unemployment down to record lows. And Alex, we're seeing kind of an apologetic left liberal media today. Joy Behar apologizes to Mike Pence. CNN has to admit if Trump can pull off peace talks with North Korea, he's going to go down as one of the greats. I mean, what are we witnessing today, Alex, as far as the historical perspective is concerned with all of Trump's presidency. I feel like we are right in the middle of a turning point.
I agree. Look, they know their ratings have gone from super low to in the tank, and everybody's turning against them right now. Whether it's the Oscars or whether it's the Golden Globes or whether it's the Emmys or the Grammys, it's just the NFL, it's all in the toilet. So Behar and others are doing a facelift to try to suck people back in to think, oh, maybe they are reasonable, maybe they're nice, because they know with the economy and the sovereignty and not just bringing the economy back, but bringing back American culture, trying to crush political correctness, making it okay to stand up against these bullies, they're really scared. And so they're going to have some of their crew sound more reasonable just to try then as a tactic when they bring out more made-up dirt to have a victory. But here's what's going on. We are in the war of our lifetimes. The globalists know they're losing, so they've gotten more frantic, more out of control. They know they've committed so many crimes that they're going to end up going to jail if we restore the republic and restore rule of law. But more than that, they relish how the public's asleep and how they're in control culturally and how they've got our children and how they've got their hands around our neck. And now that we're somewhat awake and coming to and realize they're around our neck, they're trying to say, oh, we're your friends. Let me just tighten this grip up and go back to sleep and everything will be okay. No, they're trying to culturally kill us. And the reason they've attacked InfoWars so much is the same reason they've attacked President Trump, because they know it represents Americana and people that believe in humans and believe in free market and believe in the future. But just as they've got a lot of people having to apologize and admit they were wrong right now because it's so good, it's so obvious that it blows up in their face to keep denying 2 + 2 = 4. That's why you get people like Van Jones, though, a little foundation globalist with all his race division program from the big foundations to turn us against each other. You've got him saying, well, here, let's just hear it for ourselves.
Fun to play the what if Barack Obama did this?
Well, listen, if I've said it a million times, if Barack Obama had done just half of what Trump did last week, he would have been impeached. He'd be in Guantanamo. They just said, listen, something's wrong with this guy. He's no longer here. Biden's the president. No, you saw it. Nobody said anything. We're moving on. And everybody would say, yeah, well, yeah. If you reverse position on 12 different issues with...
See how they just slip in? They want to extrajudicially get rid of him. And they got Phil Mudd saying, we're going to kill this guy. And you've got him on C-SPAN and on the Aspen Institute and CNN saying, with the former head of the CIA and the head of National Intelligence, Clapper and Brennan, oh, he'll be gone in a few months, not with impeachment, extrajudicially. I mean, that is what he just said right there again. Now, if Obama had done what Trump's done in 14 months, we'd be carrying him on our shoulders because the same mainly blue-collar, Rust Belt state, white people, and this is even mainstream news, elected Obama. The very same voters put Trump over the top. They want to get along. They want prosperity. They wanted a black president to try to seal the gap and stop and start burying racism. The left knows that. The globalists know that. They want to play demographic games. They want to play divide and conquer, so they're trying to reopen all those wounds when it's the West that actually got rid of slavery and where women got rights and all of this. You have this modern global technocracy coming in that's at war with prosperity and at war with free peoples, and it's attacking the very systems in Europe and the U.S. that created the modern world of upper mobility and brought people to the table and created ladders up and believed in prosperity. Look at Western countries. Despite all our problems compared to communist, socialist, or fascist, we are light years better. So to the listeners, they're going to get more desperate. They're going to get more scared. They're going to get more out of control. They're trying to create the perception that we're being sued, that we're thieves of intellectual property, that we're engaged in all this fraud, that we're going down, that we're losing our sponsors. None of it's even true. The newest little fake lawsuit, the guy says everybody can use this in 2015. We don't even use it. We sell somebody third-party art that has a small picture of it. That's totally protected speech. I could paint that all day if I wanted to. They don't care because there's a desperateness to it where they're just flailing with anything they can do. It doesn't mean we don't need money to fight it. It doesn't mean we don't need continued support. But the fact that we're under the most massive attack, again, listeners, look at it on politics, how we're right. Look how on culture we end up being right. Look about the polls being fake, we end up being right. The TV's watching you, the smartphones, the globalism, the human-animal hybrids. I cover stuff 20 years, 10 years, 5 years before, they want to cover it. They want to have it be ubiquitous in place when they roll out microchips for everybody to buy and sell, like they're already doing in Sweden. They want to be ubiquitous when they start teaching 5-year-olds, that they're really another sex in serious child abuse. Even Camille Paglia agrees. They don't want you to know until it is already established and in place. And we're here giving you the intel years before the enemy comes over the hill, so we can be ready and so we can be prepared. And they don't like it. We have studied history, and those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. It's been said many, many times, and that's why they hate us, because we're here exposing the real paradigm. That said, it is more critical than ever for people to financially support us. This is a war, and money and spreading the articles and praying for us are the three things that it takes to win. And they cannot stand. They've tried to hit our financing. You are our financing. You are our sponsors, listeners and viewers like you. They have tried to hit, as you've seen, everything, taking our sponsors, taking us off platforms. They're even saying they don't want Google to be able to allow our products that we sell to be searchable on Google. They've got articles out saying ban us from Google even letting people search us. The ultimate censorship, black holing InfoWars and InfoWarsStore.com. That was in the news yesterday. All of these fake frivolous lawsuits, all of them, the Communist Party suing us, the Democratic Party suing us, Roger Stone being sued by a law firm that Obama set up when he was leaving office in mid-January of 2017. He said to stop President Trump. So the war's now, it's happening, and listeners are going to decide. If you take this like a real war, and you take this like everything you do counts to the maximum, we're going to win. If you don't take it like it's a war, we could lose, even though we have justice, history, everything on our side. So, again, I'm going to come back and cover some other key notes here of the globalist war to break up the country and what they're planning with Owen Schroyer. Then I'm going to punch out and let him take over here with the amazing job he's doing. Newswars.com, Infowars.com. Tomorrow's news today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the war that we're now fighting that will determine the future of humanity's destiny. This is it. And the globalists know that. That's why Obama talked about winning the future. Well, this is the war for the future. This is a war between technocrats that believe you're a bunch of dumb animals, that I'm an animal, that we're all programmable, and that they're going to come in with a technocracy, and our species is so ruined and so failed that they are just going to replace us. This is what Elon Musk and others who've been at the highest levels of these billionaire tech companies are warning you about. You're like, yeah, I heard this before. From InfoWars, because I was reading white papers 20 years ago, looking at all this, and I couldn't believe it. 25 years ago, I knew about the globalists and one world government and their whole plan, because they'd written books about it, the John Birch Society and others had exposed it, and I grew up hearing about it from my uncle and my dad, and both sides of the family were aware of what was going on, because they were patriots and they were scholars and they were involved, fighting for America. And I didn't know about the technocracy. I didn't know about the end game once they got their world government. And I began to then learn 20 years ago about the eugenics and about the one world government plan to then carry out the population reduction and the operations of the UN and UNESCO with transhumanism and the plan to microchip the population. Remember 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the media would demonize the Christian organizations and others that were warning of all this coming. But always, if you studied those Christian organizations and you studied those other groups, they were full of high-level people from inside foundations and inside government and inside U.S. intelligence agencies. And they were aware of what was going on because they were let in on some of the plan to see if they'd go along with it. And they said, no. See, there's a project where they try to corrupt people, first with prostitutes and then with other things. But if you won't take that, well, there's other things. And they try to get people into this elitism that they know best. They're going to be part of the future of the world. They're going to be part of the chosen few. They're going to get their families involved. They're going to be protected. They're going to go into the future. And that's what the globalists are selling. That's the idea of the breakaway civilization. And I harp on this because we've really driven into the ground about globalism and how they're tax exempt and how it's a one world government. Now that's mainstream. We can now have a debate about it. We've done our job. You've done your job. Incredible job, everybody. Now we got to get into the chimeras, the human-animal hybrids, the genetic engineering, the clones. implanted in utero, in humans and in bovine and in pigs, which they now all admit, oh, we did do that 40 years ago. Oh, look, the first animal-human pig was just born 2 weeks ago. You go read the white papers. It was done 30 years ago. The Nazis were cloning rabbits in 1942. Unbelievable. So that's the point I'm getting at here, ladies and gentlemen, is we're not in Kansas anymore. And people like Trump and others, when he speaks about advanced technology, secrets of the universe, Trump, who quoted Elon Musk yesterday about new technologies bringing us into a new economy, accelerating things. They only give us fake windmills and cruddy old technology that doesn't really work. That's all their fake innovation. There's real stuff. There's real technology that's been suppressed. But instead, they don't want the third world to get any of that technology, which then once you become industrialized, you only have 2.1 children on average. In the West, even less, 1.4. That's not even replacement rate. No, they want to weaponize the third world and then use it as a reverse colonizer directed by the original colonizers, the globalists, against the first world. And you go see a movie like Black Panther, that's the message. The third world is now going to colonize the first world. Where'd you first hear about that? Right here. That wasn't even in their white papers. I could read what they were doing and figure out the next plan. Then they get these people here, fill them full of class envy, fill them full of hate because they're not at the top of the ladder. And it's the collapse of civilization. You screw the third world over. You screw the first world. You screw the old world over. And then you tell all the European Union countries, most of which didn't even vote to be in it, they tricked them via so-called trade deals, you're going to accept hundreds of thousands of smaller countries, millions in big countries of unvetted 80% military-age men into your countries. We're going to let them rob and steal and attack you, and you're going to put up with it. And people keep saying, what's wrong with the left? They're idiots. They're not idiots. This is a takedown of any technological countries or technological bases that can oppose the technocracy world government AI takeover. Hitler was defeated by nation states coming together. You can even take backward nation states under attack and ramp them up to put up defenses that nobody can basically stop. That's why they're culturally emasculating men, celebrating their weakness everywhere, celebrating in the cover of Hollywood Reporter, you know, the triumph of the beta male. This is all openly what you do to bring a civilization down, and they admit it. But you can see it on its face and know that's what they're doing. But they admit every stinking part of the whole plan. Why would anyone want to be part of this? We're better than these elitists that think they're God. These psychopath control freaks, we're going to defeat them. So that said, Owen's going to be taking over here in a moment. I have a few clips I want to play when we come back just briefly. But I go back to this. The oxygen that drives our operation is word of mouth and your excitement and your energy and the light in your eyes for every race, color, and creed, and the finances. We have free shipping store-wide. We have 30 to 80% off. It is going to end this week. It's going to end this weekend. We have Brain Force. We have Super Male Vitality. We have more than 20 products at 50% off. We have more than 15 products at 80% off. We have hundreds of other products at 30% off, already low prices. Everything you need for preparedness, survival, storable foods, water filtration, air filtration, our pollen block. These are all really great products. Vitamin mineral fusion, it's all there. But selling stuff at this low a price is a gamble because we've got to sell a ton of it to then fund the operation. But almost always when we do these incredible sales, people respond, they take action, and they order so much product that we end up bringing in more money than we would have at regular price. So that's why I'm doing it, to fund us. And I've got to go on the offense. This is a war. And all I'm asking you folks to do is to think about this war and think about where you stand. And I want to thank the listeners that have supported over the years. You're incredible. But those of you that haven't gotten Alpha Power or haven't gotten Knockout the Sleep Aid or haven't gotten our incredible Prostagard formula, for those of you that haven't gone and shopped with the good guys, but instead shop with the globalists, why would you do that when they hate free market countries? Because voting with your actions and your dollars can change the world, just as a military could or just as an idea could. So that's why I'm saying, for those of you that have never gone to InfoWarsStore.com and gotten the Super Blue Fluoride-Free toothpaste 4 to 5 with colloidal silver iodine, for those of you that haven't gone and signed up for auto ship, so you get it each month or every 2 months or every 3 months, you can get 10% off, but remember to support us and your own health and your own team underneath. It's all there. It's a perfect win-win synergy. And you see the prosperity. You see the fruit of InfoWars. You see the victory. You see how we're on the path of victory. We're on the path of success. We're on the path of free market. We're on the path of religious freedom. We're on the path of free will. And we're guarded and protected by your prayers and God above. And Lord knows I'm not perfect. And Lord knows I try not to be worldly. And every time I am trying to be overly inclusive to everybody just to roll out a red carpet, I can see that, God doesn't like that, and that we all need to be stronger, and we all need to actually, even though we want to be nice to the world so it's not destroyed, we have to understand that we've got to put this message out to those that are going to listen and to those that do care, and then move on and not beat our heads in the ground, people that don't want to listen. But those of you that are listening, it's so precious, the power you have to spread the articles, to spread the videos, to tell people about the show, to put Infowars.com, forbidden knowledge on business cards and hand them out. Almost everybody I talked to learned about Infowars from word of mouth, and they learned about it by people like you and what you've done. And so just understand that we're starting to win. But I got to tell you again, we need you to keep spreading the word, because they are in a war to shut us down as a beta test. And if they can shut us down, they're going to use that formula on everybody. So we've got to hang together. And it's been very buoying to see Drudge and Breitbart and others support us and recognize this. But they are the trailblazers, and they're the type of folks like you.
That's right. Owen Schroyer here in the InfoWars World Headquarters in Austin, Texas. Here is Alex Jones reporting from the road.
The most important point I can make right now about President Trump's giant victory for America and for the world and for peace, with the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un suing for peace, reaching out and saying, I want to meet face-to-face with President Trump. The big takeaway here is, when those top government envoys and the South Korean intelligence chief met with Kim Jong-un last week for 4 hours at dinner, I have it from high-level sources that they laid out the proposals for the North if they denuclearize and actually stop their militaristic activities. And the South also offered a plan to begin a 10-year program of reunification. But the Communist Party basically has to stand down and then fade out and just become robber barons over the incredible wealth, but their people won't be starving to death anyways. But it is a transfer, a segue, a stepping stone out of the most abject, hellish place in not just modern history, but in world history, many analysts believe. So here's the statement. Kim Jong-un has already tacitly agreed to the terms of the Trump meeting. Trump's not going to go to that meeting without getting an agreement and without having it be ironclad. He's not going to go there and not have the victory. Okay, so I'm going to explain this. The meeting already happened last week after all the diplomatic and military pressure, and you heard it here first. You'll guarantee a month or so after this happens, it's going to come out that Trump already has the agreement. Now, does that mean Kim Jong-un might not try to back out or do something? Who knows? But this is a big day, ladies and gentlemen. The truth is the Clintons and others gave them the reactors, gave them the missile secrets to build them up as a threat, working with China. The globalists have been allied with China against America, playing a double game. Trump is ending that double game, just like he went to Saudi Arabia and said, you're not going to fund ISIS anymore. You're not going to fund Al-Qaeda. You're going to free women. And they rolled over because the U.S. and Britain had put the Saudis in power, Britain particularly, and then the U.S. took that rollover in the 50s. Goes back to Lawrence of Arabia. So we're the boss. We had evil people in control, basically funding radical Islam and protecting it and letting it do what it did. Trump's a pragmatist. He said, this is all over. That's why you've seen North Korea begin to roll over. That's why you're seeing the Saudis roll over. That's why you're seeing all of this happen, because this is a plan that's about prosperity and about a future, not a plan that's about endless war and globalism. And it doesn't mean we're not going to have a giant defense budget. It doesn't mean that all that stuff's going to go away. The point is that this is the future you're seeing being attempted right here, and it is a big, big deal. And so you have the CNN host and many others saying, Aaron Burnett and others saying, if Trump can get this done, he'll be the greatest president ever. Here's that clip.
All right. Well, thanks very much to all of you. Just an extraordinary evening, and of course, opening the door to the big question. If President Trump can truly solve this problem, that would be going down as a great president. And there's no way around that. That is the reality here. Thank you all.
So going down as a great president, one of the other quotes about one of the others is greatest president. There's a bunch of the clips on Infowars.com. They can't stand it. They don't know what to do. And because they've been managing the U.S., that was over 50% of the global gross domestic product in 1965, and now is less than 30%, and it's dwindling very, very fast because it was all sold off to special interests who didn't produce it, who didn't develop it, but who were set up as viceroys, as little robber baron colonies in third world areas, not to boost global productivity or boost actual wages or boost technology, but to loot and consolidate and control and turn the world into a bunch of vassal renters. And that leads me to our next little piece that Owen Schroyer is going to take over. And Alex Jones reporting live from the road. You have the president coming out about this traitorous mayor there in Oakland. You also have Moonbeam Jerry Brown openly with feces all over the streets and hepatitis spreading everywhere and things collapsing. And it's a huge third world cesspit in many areas. It was once a very beautiful state, still is in many areas, with real Californians, real 49ers in horror. And now you've got them saying, oh, we'll let people commit crimes, felonies, robberies, rapes, arson, and we'll let them go. We're talking about MS-13, you name it, and we're going to stand against the federal government when one of the things the federal government is in charge of is the border and is in immigration. And all these other countries, if you were a criminal, they would deport you. But see, not here. And this is globalism, where they bring these populations in, they put mayors and people in charge, and governors. Schwarzenegger, when their global carbon tax failed 7 years ago, or 8 years ago in Copenhagen, he came out and said, I'm leading the UN mayoral and gubernatorial program to immunize cities and states to block this. We will implement it around the federal government, and we will ratify it at the local level. This is the treason. This is true sedition. It's completely illegal. Can you imagine some other cities, other countries, if they pull a crap like this? This is these groups taking over in open sedition. So here's the president talking about how disgraceful, I don't think it's a strong enough term, this mayor is.
What the mayor of Oakland did the other day was a disgrace, where they had close to 1,000 people ready to be gotten, ready to be taken off the streets. Many of them, they say 85% of them were criminals and had criminal records. And the mayor of Oakland went out, and she went out and warned them all, scatter. So instead of taking in 1,000, they took in a fraction of that, about 150. And they were all set. This was long in the planning. And she said, get out of here. And she's telling that to criminals. And it's certainly something that we're looking at with respect to her individually. What she did is incredible and very dangerous from the standpoint of ICE and Border Patrol. Very dangerous. She really made law enforcement much more dangerous than it had to be. So we're looking at that situation very carefully.
By the way, they're given judicial warrants for individuals for addresses. It's a different type of warrant, but it's constitutional. It's basically like a maritime or a seizure. That's what the border is a maritime border. And so she said, don't answer the door, don't respond, don't answer questions, and basically resist. So this is criminal racketeering against one of the few things the federal government actually has jurisdiction over. And Trump he's not going after little school kids like CNN says. They'll try to find one or two cases of this person thinks they're going to be deported. Poor little Billy, he's 10 years old and hadn't done anything wrong. That's not who it is. When you see these raids, it's dudes covered in tattoos. There's guns, there's drugs. We all know what it is. And, Trump's been cracking down on that. They're not kicking anybody out. Trump's always said we need to bring in more skilled labor and unskilled labor, but we need to build the economy up so that it doesn't hurt other jobs. So, that's what this comes down to, and it just shows the sedition where, an illegal alien shoots a lady in the back, she dies, he's been deported 4 times, he's had other felonies, the jury lets him go, or the sheriff's department, you see it all the time, hit and run or robbers, they just let him go because it's this weird, sick-like gang. The Democrats are such criminals that they're trying to tell Hispanics and Russians or anybody else that's here illegally, you just get to stay here and do whatever you want as long as you're part of our group, and as long as you pay money to our immigration lawyers, as long as you work in our systems. But they're always catching these second-level coyotes, like in Austin and San Antonio, who are the mayor's brother or the city councilman's sister, and they'll have 14 or 16, depending on the cases, illegals chained up in basements until their families pay more money. Or if somebody doesn't pay the money, they just lock them in an 18-wheeler, and 38 people, including 7 children, die. I mean, and then they've got movies put up by Robert television where it shows rednecks, played by Don Johnson, shooting pregnant Hispanic women in the stomach coming across the border when there's no documented cases of that. What there is documented cases of is the coyotes. People don't pay up or pay more money when they get them across. Sometimes they demand double the money. They kill them. They've dug up tens of thousands of people just over the Texas border, killed by Mexican drug cartels because they wouldn't pay the full fee or something went wrong. So that's the truth here, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what's going on. And you've got the Hispanics being brought in as a permanent political underclass in this country being fed on with the Democratic Party, and that, my friends, is the rest of the story. All right, I've done 55 minutes here. I'm going to hand the baton over to the great Owen Schroyer and the rest of the crew in the ATX. Please don't forget David Knight's broadcast, weekday mornings 8 a.m. to 11, and please don't forget Owen Schroyer, Roger Stone, and others with the War Room right when this transmission ends, coming up in about 3 hours and 5 minutes. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a war. It's up to you to spread the word or roll over and be slaves of the globalists. Right now, you can see the fruits. We're starting to win, so I suggest we kick it in high gear and come in for the big win.
All right, there's Alex Jones reporting from the road. When we come back on the Alex Jones Show, we've got more video clips to play. We'll go back over some of the important clips that Alex went over. And then stacks of news. Washington Post going total fake news. Obama failing from the bully pulpit, so now he's trying to inject himself into the media. That and more on the other side. This is the Alex Jones Show. Rest of the way, Owen Schroyer with you on a Friday. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. So here we are. And you've got not only liberal media, the communist news network CNN, a host over there, Aaron Burnett, admitting that Trump would be a great president if he can get the peace talks done with North Korea. You've also got Joy Behar, who's pretty much just been off of her rocker since Trump got elected. Now she's apologizing to Mike Pence for the insensitive comments she made about his religious beliefs. But let's take a look at how the media is responding to this Trump peace talks with North Korea deal going down. Again, here's Aaron Burnett on CNN actually praising the president if he can get this done.
All right. Well, thanks very much to all of you. Just an extraordinary evening and, of course, opening the door to the big question. If President Trump can truly solve this problem, that would be going down as a great president. And there's no way around that. That is the reality here.
So there you go. So she's just admitting it like, all right, well, we can't even spin that negatively, even though we were just, you know, promoting the head of the agitation and propaganda department here on CNN, Kim Jong-un's sister. Even we would have to admit if Trump can get this done, he'd be a great president. And by the way, you'll notice at the beginning of that clip, I don't know if you guys want to just roll the still frame, they had 6 guests on. Yeah, 6 guests on. This is what CNN does now. It used to be they'd get maybe 4. Now they throw 6 people at you just to try to confuse you with all the different disinformation and talking heads. I mean, come on, give me a break. Now here's MSNBC's response to the news of Trump and North Korea getting together for a meeting.
Yeah, so Willie...
Is this a deflection?
Of course it's a deflection. Willie...
From Stormy?
Well, yes, of course from Stormy.
Who can keep their eyes off the whole Stormy situation?
Certainly not from the
keep their eyes off of
meeting face-to-face with the leader of North Korea and the President of the United States actually will come to pass, or whether it's some peace in a larger negotiation with that country over its nuclear weapons.
Or again, a distraction to change the headlines from Stormy Daniels, which was yesterday.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
To North Korea today. But why don't we start with major developments?
Let's get to the details of...
But Donald Trump, again, he just makes a decision on tariffs because of Hope Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
And he makes a decision on North Korea.
All right, so let's take them off. Let's consider this notion. So crazy psycho Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, who gets dominated by Joe Scarborough, not even allowed to talk on air, they are saying that to distract from Stormy Daniels, Trump is trying to bring peace to North Korea, and to try to distract from the Hope Hicks testimony, what was they said that the distraction with that one was, guys? The tariffs or something? Yeah, the tariffs. Okay, so let me get this straight. So in order to distract from fake negative news, Trump is trying to get world peace, and Trump is trying to rejuvenate the American economy. And that makes them mad. It makes them mad that Trump would actually try to get world peace and to try to make the American manufacturing industry great again. That makes them mad, and it's just a distraction. Boy, well, please, make some new fake news story up that Trump can distract us from. Maybe he'll cure cancer next. But here is a South Korean official going on, I believe this is a Canadian news service, talking about the Trump administration and thanking them.
Today, I had the privilege of briefing President Trump on my recent visit to Pyongyang, North Korea. I'd like to thank President Trump, the Vice President, and his wonderful national security team, including my close friend, General McMaster. I explained to President Trump that his leadership and his maximum pressure policy, together with international solidarity, brought us to this juncture. I expressed President Moon Jae-in's personal gratitude for President Trump's leadership. I told President Trump that in our meeting, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said he is committed to denuclearizing.
Oh, yeah, so Trump doesn't know what he's doing. Trump's going to cause us to go to war with North Korea. Trump is angering the North Koreans and the South Koreans. Oh, wait, nope. He's about to have peace talks with North Korea, get a deal done. South Korea is praising him. Even CNN admits it's a great deal. But MSNBC says it's to distract you from their fake news. So please, MSNBC, make up some new fake news so Trump can do something else amazing. All right, I've got some points I want to make here before we get into more of these video clips and some of the news here today. There was something Alex was talking about earlier where they bring in the non-citizens, and the Democrats use income inequality or whatever you want to say to push class warfare. And then they can easily instill that hatred and that mindset into the non-citizens that they're bringing in with the open border policies. But see, there used to be a beautiful thing about the United States of America that you didn't have anywhere else on earth, among many things, the freedoms, the rights. But there was one thing about our culture, there was one thing about our society that you had here that was very rare anywhere else in the world, and almost the precedent was set here for it. And that was the, I don't want to say end of class warfare, but kind of the non-existence of class warfare, where if you're on the streets of America, whether you're rich or poor, you're sharing the same streets, you're sharing the same restaurants, you're sharing the same venues, you're going to the same events, you're soliciting the same stores. So rich people, poor people, middle-class people, everyone lived together in the same society, and it was a non-issue. The poor people didn't have class warfare against the rich people. They may have had to work harder, and they knew that that was going on, but that's what they did to survive. They didn't hate the guy that had more money than them, but now the Democrats have instilled that class warfare into America. I remember I was listening to, I forget what it was, but it was some old documentary, and they were talking about how you used to be able to walk the streets of New York City, walk the streets of California, walk the streets of anywhere. Didn't matter you were rich or poor or somewhere in between. Everyone was the same. Everybody looked at each other the same. Everybody treated each other the same. That was part of the American culture. Rich, poor, middle class, everybody gets along. Everybody works together in society. But now the political left and the Democrats have made this class warfare, and they've injected this class warfare into their minions, in particular the people that come over here and are non-citizens. Now, think about that. The reason why you have Ellis Island, the reason why you have these immigration policies in America is so that people coming here that wanted to become citizens would have to adapt to this country. They'd have to accept this country's culture, and they need to be able to fit in. I can't forget the exact word I'm thinking of. And that's what kept the immigration system working. What was that? Assimilate. Thank you. Assimilate. That's the word. So they had to assimilate before they could become citizens. And that's how you got great people to come here. That's how you got immigrants that came here and then produced and were great citizens and then became great Americans. They've erased that entire premise, the Democrats have. And they say it's for social justice. They say that it's the virtuous thing to do. But really, idealistically, they don't believe in borders. That's the honest liberal mindset now. It's so far to the left, they don't even believe in borders. Borders are a made-up thing. It's fake. There's no borders, no such thing as borders. And then they'll probably tell you there's no such thing as money, too. And so that's why they just hand money out to everyone who crosses over the imaginary border that they don't believe in. And then they destroy society. They destroy culture. But think about it. if you've got all of these people coming in, let's say from Central America or Mexico or something like that, and they come here and they have this hatred of the rich white man instilled in them by the left, well, how are they going to fit in with society? Well, they're not. They're going to create class warfare, race warfare. That's what the Democrats are doing. Same thing, let's say you bring in a bunch of people from the Middle East. Okay, well, in the Middle East, women aren't even, in many countries, allowed to show their face, their hair, their body, express their opinion, anything. And then that group of people comes to America, they see women like Kim Kardashian walking around naked all day, being probably has more followers on Twitter than anybody else, and Instagram and everything, a porn star. I mean, look at the left. They're literally obsessed with porn stars. I mean, look at Stormy Daniels. And so then they see that, they see the media, they see Hollywood, and all the garbage that comes out of that. And then how do you think they're going to respond? They're going to freak out. Maybe they're going to go plant a backpack bomb or something, or run a bunch of people over in a car. That's what we're trying to stop, but that's not what the left wants to stop. And you have to ask why. Well, idealistically, they don't believe in borders. They don't believe in America. And then politically, they need those votes to win office. And so that's what you've got going on with that. But then you get this story from the Washington Post, and it just puts it all into perspective. Gun rights are about keeping white men on top. See, there's two stories today that are 100% indicative of the left, the modern day liberals' mindset right now. And that's this story from the Washington Post. Gun rights are about keeping white men on top. So they don't want to talk about, you know, the actual statistics behind gun violence, gun crime, statistics behind crime in general, whether it be white or black or Hispanic or anything like that. No. You have to understand, they don't think logistically. They don't think logically. They don't think with reason and understanding. They have hatred instilled with them, and they have these social justice warrior mindsets, and they really believe it all comes down to white men. They really think that white men are the problem. They hate white men, and they need to destroy white men. So do you understand why they write the headline, gun rights are about keeping white men on top? And then do you understand on the back end why they're trying to take the guns? See, they just told you their entire mindset. Okay, well, obviously they want to take the guns. They make that obvious, but then they say it's about keeping white men on top. So here they are saying the white man's on top and they have to take him down. That's what they're admitting to you in this Washington Post garbage. But let's flash back. It was just a month or so ago where the Washington Post was saying that the Second Amendment was Russian propaganda. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Hey, if the Russians like gun rights and having firearms to protect themselves and their family, good. Again, why do these people hate Russia so much? Russia has come, oh, you know what it is? Because Russia has come so far from the shackles of communism. That's what it is. Russia is a great example of how communism fails and how freedom and free market succeeds, as Russia and the people in Russia are finally rejuvenating Russia, getting rid of the communist regimes from the past. Not saying Russia's perfect, but they've come from the shackles of communism. Another example of how communism fails. And that's why the left hates Russia. And so here you go. The entire gun thing fails, so it goes back to what they do every time, hate the white man, everything's the white man's fault, and they say gun rights are about keeping white men on top. So you got to take the guns, and you got to take the white man down. And that's one angle. Here's the other angle from the left's modern ideology. Trump is trying to have a peace talk with North Korea, trying to bring North Korea to the table, going to have a meeting with Kim Jong-un. It's big breaking news today. And then what does the left say? It's a distraction from the Stormy Daniels story. It was orchestrated by Putin. Okay, well, you know what? Let's go down the deep end here. Let's jump off the deep end here. Let's go off the cliff here. And let's say that maybe that's right. Let's say that Trump is trying to distract from whatever fake news they're reporting or whatever they're reporting. And let's even say it was orchestrated by Putin. Let's say both of those angles are true. Okay, well, so what? I thought the left was all about, everyone coming together and working together. But again, they hate Russia. But now all of a sudden, the left doesn't want peace. The left doesn't want prosperity. The left doesn't want the people of North Korea to be freed and have a chance at prosperity because they think it was organized by Russia? They think it was organized by Putin? They think it's just a distraction? Trump announces today that he's going to release the secret technologies and cure cancer. An unbelievable distraction from the news that he's colluding with Russia. Can you believe this? We're reporting that Trump is colluding with Russia, and he's over here trying to distract from that by curing cancer. How dare he? How dare Trump cure cancer and distract from our fake news? Oh, Trump is all worried about Stormy Daniels, and there's a porn star. Oh my gosh, it's the biggest news. Wait, what? Trump is sitting down with North Korea to have peace talks? Why isn't he addressing our news about the porn star? Why is he distracting from the porn star? How dare President Trump? How dare President Trump put the tariffs on steel to rejuvenate manufacturing in this company, to distract us from fake news? How dare he? Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. Filling in for Alex as he is on the road, I am Owen Schroyer. We've got a lot of news to cover yet, as well as some other video clips that we're going to get to. Now, there was something... I'm not really sure exactly what Elon Musk's relationship is to President Trump, but I do believe there is something there. I do believe that the two gentlemen know each other and perhaps even think fondly of one another because President Trump mentioned Elon Musk before and bragged about his rocket and also read his tweets at one point in time. And Elon Musk, who, I mean, many would consider probably a liberal, honestly, but again, the left has gone so far to the left now, the average just fair-minded liberal is now more like a centrist libertarian and kind of falls on the Trump side just because they have the ability to reason and think critically and be honest about what they're seeing. So the left is kind of destroying itself, and any fair-minded liberals that were on the left are now becoming more centrist and even just coming to the right because the left is so far. I mean, they've pushed the Overton window so far that now just a fair-minded liberal, it can no longer even consider themselves a liberal because it's become so toxic. But I wanted to highlight what Elon Musk tweeted the other day because for people that don't understand this, he just puts it so simply. So I'm going to read from this story from The Verge. Hours before, the headline is Elon Musk tweeted at the president to push China on car tariffs, and Trump read the tweets on TV. The story goes, hours before a scheduled announcement about tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, Tesla CEO, who just put a roadster in space, Elon Musk posted a series of tweets directed at President Trump for asking for equal and fair rules for cars when it comes to the U.S. and China. Trump later read the tweets from a printed piece of paper during the televised announcement. Musk spoke out against two things that he says have made things very difficult for Tesla. First, he explained to the president how the U.S. places a 2.5%, that's 2.5% tariff on cars imported to the United States from China, while China, in turn, places a 25%, that's 25% tariff on U.S. imports. Now, folks, you have to pass first-grade math to understand that concept. As long as you have passed first-grade math, you should be able to understand that concept. So people like Kamala Harris, you know, we're kind of on the fence on, and then Nancy Pelosi, we're going to have a video of her later. Wow. I mean, serious issues going on there. But that's, I mean, how can you not just look at that and say it's not fair? And this is what President Trump campaigned on. This is a message that he continues to hammer home. What else do you need to know? 2.5% for China to import goods here, 25% for us to import goods to China. Trump wants to make that an even playing field. And then what does the mainstream media say? What does CNN say? What does MSNBC say? Well, this is just a distraction from Hope Hicks' resignation and comments. Oh, okay, so if somebody resigns from the White House and then Trump makes America great again, boy, I guess more people would start resigning. And we're putting together a video. We've been taking calls. We took a bunch of them yesterday. I've taken more of them on the War Room. I think Dew and the crew took some on the War Room yesterday. We get calls from people that work in the steel industry, working in middle America. Like, during the Obama years, I ended up getting laid off. There was no work. Now, there's so much work, I can't even stop working. We have to hire new people. And you've got all the numbers. I mean, where's my stack of jobs numbers today? Okay, Let's just go down the list here. Black unemployment falls to second lowest level on record in February. Same thing with Hispanic unemployment. Yeah, so that's the racist President Trump, who's done more for minorities than Barack Obama ever did and ever could imagine doing because he doesn't own a magic wand. Payrolls increased by 313,000 in February versus 200,000 estimated. So non-farm payrolls rose by 313,000 in February, while the unemployment rate remained at 4.1%, the lowest since December 2000. So earnings are up 2.6% according to that report. 155,215,000 record number of Americans employed. Again, these are record numbers of unemployment, record numbers of employment. Jobs are still being created. Manufacturing jobs up 31,000 in February, 263,000, 263,000 since Trump took office. And that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. This is not going to stop. He just put the tariffs out there. A lot of these manufacturing companies are just building their plants. They haven't even started hiring people yet. So now let's go back to Elon Musk's tweet. He says, I am against import duties in general, but the current rules make things very difficult. It's like competing in an Olympic race wearing lead shoes. Just want a fair outcome, ideally where tariffs/rules are equally moderate. Nothing more. Hope this does not seem unreasonable. Well, the problem is that does seem unreasonable to the left for a variety of reasons, but to just make it simple, because they are suffering from a mental disorder called liberalism, called Stockholm syndrome, called condition bias. It's just, I mean, it's all there. It's all psychological. It's all brought about by the media, the fake news, the movies, the Stephen Colberts, the Clintons, the Obamas. They did this. They brainwashed the public. They forced this mental illness, this Stockholm syndrome, this disease of liberalism on the public, pretending like it's successful, pretending like it's fair, pretending like it gives you prosperity. It's done none of that. 0 cases in world history. So Musk just tweets out, pretty much putting it to you as simply as it could be. We pay 25%. China pays 2.5%. A 10-fold increase. That's 10 times. That's not even close to being fair. And then says the simple analogy right off the heels of the Olympics. That's like an Olympic sprinter wearing lead shoes while the rest of the sprinters are wearing Nike shoes. Who do you think is going to win that race? The U.S. is going to lose every time. And the U.S. has been losing, but not anymore, thanks to President Trump and making fair trade deals. And he's still just beginning. And then he has to say, I hope this doesn't seem unreasonable, because that's him kind of signaling out to the average leftist out there that's been totally brainwashed and mind-sucked and soul-sucked, like, hey, look, I know you're going to hate me because it sounds like I'm supporting Trump here, but, you know, just look at the numbers for yourself. Just look at the analogy here. It's very simple. What Trump is doing makes sense. Now, folks, we need your support at InfoWarsStore.com. We are trying to expand this broadcast and everything that we do here at InfoWars to the next level, and it's all possible with your support at InfoWarsStore.com. Some of the specials include up to 20 items being 50% off, up to 15 items being 80% off, unprecedented free shipping store-wide, even for the heavy items like emergency food supplies, air filters, water filters, and the like, the body armor. So free shipping store-wide, huge specials. I don't see this lasting past Sunday. I don't see how this deal can last past Sunday. It's been on for 2 weeks now. For 2 weeks, this special has been out there. So take advantage. Some of the top products, 50% off Super Male Vitality, 50% off the Real Red Pill. It's all at InfoWarsStore.com. Check out the T-shirts. Check out the toothpaste, all the other household items. You make it possible for InfoWars to expand, and you are making it possible, and that's what we're going to do. So continue to support the InfoWar at InfoWarsStore.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. Owen Schroyer here for Alex Jones as he is reporting from the road. We also have reporters live at South by Southwest right now. Bernie Sanders is in town. Crazy as a bedbug. Bernie Sanders is in Austin, Texas, out South by Southwest, being interviewed by Jake Tapper, so we're monitoring that situation. Ted Malloch is about to be joining me in just a moment to talk about the global financial trends. We'll talk about these tariffs. But I want to play this clip of Van Jones. Now, I've met Van Jones. I had a very extensive conversation with Van Jones on the streets of Cleveland. I actually think Van Jones is a cool guy. I think that Van Jones is the type of guy that I could go out with and actually have a good time. And I thought it was a powerful conversation we had that day. He made some good points. I made some good points. It was passionate, and we walked away, and we're able to shake each other's hands and say, okay, that's perfectly fine. That was a good conversation. Now, my theory, I don't understand why Van Jones says some of the things he says on CNN, but I think it all made sense to me today after hearing this clip. Listen to what Van Jones says on CNN last night about Trump and Obama.
Isn't it fun to play the what if Barack Obama did this game?
Well, listen, if Barack, I've said it a million times, if Barack Obama had done just half of what Trump did last week, he would have been impeached. He'd be in Guantanamo. They just said, listen, something's wrong with this guy. He's no longer here. Biden's the president. No, you saw it. Nobody said anything. We're moving on. And everybody would say, yeah, well, yeah. If you reverse position on 12 different issues and you're losing half your staff, you can't be president. There would have been no discussion. Obama would literally just be disappeared. Biden would be president, and we would never mention his name again. But we're just rolling on along.
Now, you notice the only reason he actually cites is that he's had a lot of people leave his administration. That's it. And a lot of that is because they're leaking things to the media, and they weren't good, or they were globalist, or it was just time, or they were bullied out like Hope Hicks. So, but you notice what he says there. He says, Obama would be in Guantanamo Bay. That's where Trump belongs. And then he says for all the things he's done in the last week, but he doesn't mention anything. He just says half of his administration has resigned, which I don't even think that's true. So, yeah, he's had a lot of resignations, but I think I realized what Van Jones is now. And I can't believe I didn't realize it until hearing this clip. He is Barack Obama's mouthpiece. You're seeing the B-roll of Van Jones and I on the streets of California. Again, honestly, I'm the kind of guy, look, I can look someone in the eye, okay, and I can get them. It doesn't take me that long to understand someone's character. It really doesn't. Maybe that's just a special ability I have, but I think all humans have that ability. I think it's an instinct. I think it's a sixth sense to just be able to pick up on someone's soul, pick up on someone's spirit just by being in their presence, looking them in the eye, and having a conversation with them. Now, if you've had your spirit and your soul sucked from you, with the fluoride in the water and the chemicals in the food and water, then, that might be a little harder for you. But from meeting Van Jones, talking to him, looking him in the eye, and having a conversation, I thought, hey, this is a real guy. I feel like this is a guy I could get along with, even if we have different political views. But I realized after hearing that clip and hearing Van Jones say that Obama would be in Guantanamo if he did what Trump did, it made me realize what Van Jones is on CNN. He is Obama's mouthpiece. Just like Jimmy Kimmel is Chuck Schumer's mouthpiece, I think Van Jones is Obama's mouthpiece. And I think the reason, think about it. Consider where Obama is right now. He's in all kinds of trouble. Obama's in all kinds of trouble. The FISA scandal, the Benghazi scandal, the IRS scandal, the Fast and Furious scandal, and it's all coming back. The FBI, everything. So Obama's in huge trouble. What he did, what Obama did that's come out would land him in Guantanamo Bay. So what does the left do? Every time. They take what they're guilty of, they take what their justice should be, and they project that onto their opponents. Just like Trump Russia. No, it was Hillary Russia. Just like Trump racist. No, it's Hillary that's racist. You see, that's what they do. So when Obama, my theory, uses Van Jones to go on CNN and say Trump should be in Guantanamo essentially because Obama would be in Guantanamo, he's saying that because everything that's about to come out about Obama would actually probably result somebody in Guantanamo. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why Van Jones says that on CNN. Now, my guest Ted Malloch is with me now, obviously international expert on geopolitics, finances, and everything like that. We'll get into some of the tariffs and everything later. But what do you think, Mr. Malloch, what do you think about what I was just discussing about people like Van Jones and Jimmy Kimmel that have just become total mouthpieces for the Democrat Party, where it's like they don't even give you what they actually think. They just put out the message that the Democrats want to be out there in order to spin some fake narrative they can against the Republic?
Well, I think you're quite accurate and right on, spot on in your analysis. I think it would give them too much time. I certainly don't watch them. the ratings that they are getting certainly suggest that fewer and fewer people are watching them. So I don't even give them the time to analyze what they're saying or thinking. I mean, I just dismiss them. We know where they're coming from. We know what they're going to say. It's just, completely irresponsible. First of all, it's not journalism. Secondly, it's dishonest. And third, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel, I think he used to be a comedian. He used to have this show, The Man Show, where he was actually funny, if you go back 10 years. And his partner in that was actually pretty good and pretty straight, and actually is a conservative. Jimmy Kimmel has become just an absolute fool. Again, what are the ratings on either of these people or any of their other cohorts on these kinds of shows? We just need to turn the dial down. Don't even give them the time of day.
Yeah, and you're already seeing that with the movie industry right now, where all of these liberals that spout their political views like Oprah and Jennifer Lawrence, they can't even sell a movie anymore. But I think here's another story that indicates the failure of the left right now to try to get their message out. You know, Obama disappeared for a while. You didn't hear from him for like a month, and then he had the portrait reveal. That was an absolute disgrace. Then he had this. then he has this.
Taking a shit in a leaf of
oh God! Hey, dump that. Hey, but then he has the secret. Did you hear about his secret meeting or his secret speech where he gives a secret speech? He tells everyone in attendance, "Don't record, don't tell anyone about this." Of course, the message leaks. But I think his message is failing so much from the bully pulpit. Now you have this story today. Barack Obama in talks to provide shows for Netflix. So Ted, they're failing with the bully pulpit politically. And I think that Obama is now so toxic, they don't even want his face to be associated with the message of the Democrats right now. They're going to just bury his politics into the media and remove his face from it.
Well, he is raising money for his very important presidential library in Chicago. And I'm told that has been a tough drive. So maybe you ought to hire his old cohort, Hillary Clinton, to start a foundation with him, because they were very effective at that form of kleptocracy. I mean, actually, it was an all-time president. I made a list once of the all-time greatest kleptocrats in the last 200 years, and the Clintons were in the top 10. So, he could certainly go to them and take a page out of their book. Oh, there might be a second council to look in to the Clinton Council. I mean, into the Clinton Foundation. I understand that that's already underway. We hear yesterday in Little Rock, Arkansas, by real FBI agents. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so that would make sense why Obama wouldn't want to be associating with the Clintons if he thinks he can try to abscond from anything that involved him with the Clinton catastrophe. But I don't think he's going to be able to avoid that either. I think Obama, he was protecting Hillary Clinton from the very get-go with Comey because he was actually involved with the email scandal. He knew Hillary had that server. He was probably emailing that server, and he did nothing about it. So he's trying to cover his tracks. He already did it by letting the FBI drop the investigation before it even went down. But the second special counsel is coming. At least that's what all signs indicate. It's time for Sessions to quit saying he's thinking about it and considering it and just do it. Let's get this out there. Let's force this home. Ted Malloch is my guest. When we come back on the other side, we'll get more into the geopolitics and the financial politics of the tariffs on steel. Don't go anywhere. This is the Alex Jones Show. So Elon Musk tweets out the facts about the unfair trade deals, and then President Trump reads it as he is announcing his tariffs on steel and aluminum. The tweet goes, "It's very difficult for Tesla. The U.S. places a 2.5% tariff on cars imported from to the U.S. from China, while China places a 25% tariff on U.S. imports." So again, tenfold what we pay. We pay 10 times as much to import goods to China as they pay to import goods here. That's not fair. Musk then makes the analogy. It's like competing in an Olympic race wearing lead shoes, of course, while the other athletes are wearing the latest Nikes and blowing by us. So Trump removes the lead shoes with these tariffs, and we're already starting to see the steel industry celebrating this. Ted Malloch, I know that you've been on other mainstream news outlets talking about this. When it first broke, I was hearing kind of both sides of the issue. Some people said it was bad. Some people said it was good. There were the principled people saying, I don't believe in tariffs in general, but then I think it makes sense to try to have a fair trade deal. Now I'm to the point where I'm hearing so much praise from the steel industry, the aluminum industry. I'm seeing the manufacturing jobs back. To me now, it's case closed. Trump knew exactly what he was doing with these tariffs.
Well, not only did he know what he was doing, but he studied it very seriously for 9 months. It's a 232 action, so it has to do with national security. He's got some of the smartest guys in the world working on this with him. They include Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, the U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, who is undoubtedly the best guy in the world on these kinds of trade disputes, and Peter Navarro, who many of us know, of course, is an economist who has that point of view. He had a debate in the White House. Gary Cohn took the globalist position, and he lost. He resigned. And now we have those tariffs being put in place. Now, what are they about? They're really going after the excess capacity of steel and aluminum in the world. In the case of steel, there are about 2 billion tons of steel manufactured a year. 800 million of those come from one place, China. They dump them on the world. We have got a kind of a whack-a-mole system where they transship it to various countries, then they ship it to the United States and to other developed countries. And we've got to put an end to that. We've got to put an end to that unfair trading system. We've got to do it for national security reasons. And we'll have some countries that we can basically excuse from this. He said he'll excuse Canada and Mexico, but even here, again, brilliantly, if and only if, and this is leverage, they play with us on NAFTA. If they don't, then they get the same tariffs.
I want to kind of go off on a rail here that you mentioned Peter Navarro. A lot of people are saying that Peter Navarro could be next in line for the economic advisor position that's going to be vacated when Cohn is out. What are you hearing about that role possibly for Peter Navarro? While some people are pointing out, you know, this is a guy who actually is a Democrat and a liberal, kind of like Cohn was a globalist versus the nationalist. So what are you hearing about Peter Navarro and the details about maybe him sliding into the top economic role here?
So, you know, Mnuchin and Trump himself have said that the economic bench is pretty deep. There are a lot of people that could fill this post. He is in the White House already. He had been reporting to Gary Cohn. He is a competent economist. He comes from the University of California at Riverside. He's written a number of controversial books. Most of them center on the question of China's role in the world and China's unfair advantages when it comes to the trading regime. So this action actually represents a lot of his research. I know Trump likes him, cares for him, handpicked him. He was on the Economic Council even before the campaign started or when it started. There's also speculation that Larry Kudlow, of course, who's an old Reaganite, a supply sider, was at CNBC for years as kind of the lead commentator on the stock market, could fill that position. So there are a number of people that could go into it. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Peter. When Trump appeared yesterday, and it was brilliant, you have to give him credit here for the photo opportunity. When he appeared in the White House to sign that trade action, he had behind him all of those steel and aluminium workers, as they call it in the UK, aluminum workers. Those are basically working class Democrats from Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, all those places that we need to win in the midterm elections. The Democrats must have been having a heart attack when they saw that photo opportunity. But the four people standing with Trump included the vice president, the secretary of the Treasury, the secretary of Commerce, and Peter Navarro. So I think there's a bit of hint there already.
This is twisting me into knots now. I can't remember who it was. It was either some Democrat congressman or liberal talk show host that tweeted out like some sarcastic tweet like, here's a list of all the people lining up for Trump's top economic advisor role. And then it was like some joke like nobody wants it. And I'm like, you are such fake news. It's like, how do you even live in that reality? Really? You don't think there's a line of people wanting to be Trump's top economic advisor, the most historic White House administration ever? I mean, Ted, doesn't that really display how lost they are in their own nonsense?
I mean, then you're going to hear that, what, nobody wants to go on the Supreme Court next? I mean, do you really believe this nonsense?
Yeah, yep, exactly.
I mean, there's a rumor floating today that Justice Kennedy, by the way, is going to step down this summer. So I don't know myself, but I mean, that rumor has circulated in the past. That would give us a second opportunity and maybe a third opportunity. And next year, we could pack this court and the conservatives could control social and judicial policy for the next 30 years.
And see, this is why the Democrats are freaking out. This is why they're doubling down on the fake news. I mean, especially if Ginsburg, you know, if she's going to be the next one to go too. I mean, that's one of the liberal judges. You replace that with a conservative judge. I mean, it's like, wow. You know, Trump just saved this country for decades to come.
Trump appoint anybody that's not approved by the Federalist Society? No way. He's already got his list, so we know who's on that list. Not to say he couldn't add some others, but they're all going to be very solid, strict constructionist judges who have brilliant political and judicial careers like Judge Gorsuch. I mean, Trump is going to appoint those kinds of people. I mean, the other big thing in the news today, talk about, you know, lacking for big things, is the people in Oslo must be scratching their heads because they're going to have to give President Donald J. Trump the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh my gosh, they could never do that. That would admit that they're so. I mean, hey, honestly, watch this though. Look, let's see what happens with North Korea. Remember, Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for doing nothing. But let's see what happens if Trump actually is victorious getting a deal done with North Korea and then still doesn't get it. You know what? I'm not sure where to go with you because we were going down the judicial side of things. In fact, Ted, are you available for another 5 minutes after this segment is up?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So I'm going to get into another issue in the short segment next. But what can President Trump do about the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals? This is essentially a liberal panel of judges that just wipes the floor with the Constitution every day. They don't care. They don't put Americans first. They're destroying Trump's decisions that are trying to put America first. I mean, what can he do about the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals? These people are out of control.
Well, very little. I mean, if an opening comes up, he can obviously appoint someone who's more to his liking and begin to shape those courts, not only that one, but other circuit courts around the country. And he's doing that. He's gotten more judges through in the first year, I think, than any president in the last 50 years. So that's already taken place. And it's like deregulation. He doesn't get enough credit for it. There's so much deregulation going on that CEOs that I talk to are just gaga. They thought he might have been able to, you know, shake the cage a little bit, but unprecedented what's happening. The Ninth Circuit Court and others like it, I'm afraid we're going to have to keep challenging them at higher levels in appellate courts and then eventually in the Supreme Court. We've got about a 5-4 vote now on the Supreme Court. If that goes to 6-3, which it would this summer, then there's not much that they can do.
And there's the tweet from Trump just a few months ago. It shows everyone how broken and unfair our court system is when the opposing side in a case such as DACA always runs to the Ninth Circuit and almost always wins before being reversed by their higher courts. This is the same thing that Democrats do with the superdelegates in the nomination process. They rig the entire thing. So, oh, well, our candidate might not be able to get in, so let's just give them all the secret delegates. Okay, now they're in. Like, oh, crap, we're wrong on this court decision. We're on the wrong side of justice here, but let's go to our stocked Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals loaded with liberal judges that always go with the anti-American decision, and they'll go for it. And I'll tell you what, Ted, if they make an example of Libby Schaaf breaking the law out there in Oakland, I think that they could be coming after some of these judges next. What do you think?
Well, it's very difficult to displace the judges. I think she, on the other hand, is quite guilty, and the the Department of Justice should go after her. I mean, it's ridiculous not to allow ICE. I mean, this is the equivalent of succeeding from the union, isn't it?
Well, and then you have Sessions kind of make that comparison. Let's recall that it was California that broke federal law and would not let black people go to school. And that's what they did to break federal law. Now they're basically doing the same thing, putting non-Americans over Americans. Well, President Trump, fulfilling a campaign promise, removed the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and that has allowed him to free his hands and essentially make a lot of these new trade deals, tariff deals. Thank God that's what Trump did because he understood what was behind it. But that did not stop 13 other countries from signing the Trans-Pacific Partnership and selling that as a good deal. So that just went down. Ted, what can you tell us? Oh, 11 countries. I'm sorry, I may have had the number wrong there. Ted, what can you tell us about the TPP that was just signed?
Well, it is the Trans-Pacific Partnership that the United States withdrew from. So without the U.S., it's rather insignificant. Yeah. So you may have some free trade between, Chile and some countries in Asia. I mean, I don't.
So do you think? So do you think they just kind of did this and did this whole ceremony to just kind of try to act like Trump didn't get a victory here?
Sure. I mean, it's like the climate change.
Yeah, the Paris Climate Accord, right?
If the U.S. is not in something, the largest, most powerful country in the world, then it's lacking. It's not. It's going nowhere. It's meaningless. And Trump is clearly not a multilateralist. He's certainly not a supranationalist. He's trying to evolve the entire system back towards state-centric sovereignty. So we should also applaud, frankly, the election in Italy this week, if you want to talk about that, because it's one that Trump would like.
Yeah, and it puts another crack in the shield of the EU. Young people in the EU are not wanting the EU. They're trying to get rid of it. The Italy's populist support during their elections again put a dink into the shield of the EU. I mean, what is all? It's like is nationalism taken back? I mean, is patriotism back? Are the globalists falling here?
Well, it's falling everywhere. It fell in Brexit. It fell in Central and Eastern Europe. It's now falling in Western Europe. Obviously, in the Netherlands, in France. I mean, Trump's election is part of a much, much larger phenomenon. Sometimes Americans are a bit myopic. They don't see this around the world. I would even argue what's happened in India with the BJP. This is a worldwide phenomenon. We have nation states reasserting themselves, returning power to the people. It's a very exciting time to watch this on the geopolitical stage.
And it's just so amazing when you sit here and you go back and you remember everything that went down, removing us from the Paris Climate Accord, removing us from TPP, addressing the unfair trade deals, addressing the unfair deals with NAFTA. So here Trump is addressing all these unfair trade deals. And I'm going to make an analogy here because this is how ridiculous the response is. This is like, I'm going to give you a sports analogy. Let's say that the Cleveland Cavaliers that have LeBron James decided to trade LeBron James, the best player in the NBA, for George Hill. You say, who? Exactly. It's a terrible trade. They would never do that trade. And if they did that trade, everyone in the media would scratch their head and say, this is a terrible trade. Why did they do this trade? But when it comes to the United States trading with China, with Mexico, and all of these trade deals, and you see how unfair they are, the 10% difference that we pay, or excuse me, the tenfold difference that we pay compared to China, and they're saying, look at Trump, he's crazy, he's a racist, he's a nationalist. Why? What is he doing? I mean, why do they react like this when you're just trying to have a fair trade?
We're 14 months into the Trump presidency, and he's changed so many things already. And, we've got another 7 years to go. Can you imagine how much is going to happen in our lifetimes in this span of time with President Trump? I mean, it's just unfathomable. It changes the tables completely on almost every axis. I looked up today because I was on the BBC. What do you think the EU tariff is on Chinese steel imports?
Well, what is it?
74.7%. So, let's point some fingers at some other people who, also believe that China is dumping steel in the world system and creating havoc. Please give me a break.
Well, this is what Trump is addressing. He ran his campaign. He promised he would do this. Now he's following through. I mean, this guy is just a wrecking ball. He never stops. It's unbelievable. Ted Malloch, thank you so much for joining us. You can find him on Twitter at Ted Malloch, tedmalloch.com. He steps away. On the other side, we've got more news to cover. Don't go anywhere. Part of the thing about live media is you just have to spill your guts and all your emotions out here just to maintain an audience. And so, I respond to Nancy Pelosi and I get fired up and I can't stand her politics and I can't stand her in general. And sometimes, sometimes even my own mother gives me a hard time. She's like, okay, Owen, why do you have to be so hard on Nancy Pelosi? She's probably seriously suffering some mental illness here. She's an old lady. And, I think about my my loving grandma, the last grandparent I have left on this planet. And I mean, she's more with it than Nancy Pelosi. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want people to you know, poke fun at my grandma either. I think that would be very upsetting to me. But I mean, again, they put her in the arena. Who elects this woman? See, I'm already going there. But look, there's two clips. I mean, you can't even believe this, folks. Oh, I mean, you've seen what Nancy Pelosi has done in the past as far as when she's speaking and she fumbles. I think she's referred to President Trump as President Bush like 5 times now. She has moments where she like can't even remember where she was, and she like kind of zones out for a second, and you're like, uh-oh, like what just happened there? Or during the State of the Union where it looks like she can't, like her dentures are all messed up or something, and she literally looks like, I don't know what's going on. Well, here's the deal. I feel bad for Nancy Pelosi because she's obviously suffering from something. Now, that's just feeling bad because someone is in a bad situation currently. However, this is a woman worth over $100 million who's been serving in Congress for what, 2 decades, 3 decades? I mean, I don't know. How does she get that money? So I don't feel bad for Nancy Pelosi overall as a person. I think she's a crook. I think she's a horrible politician. I think she's bad for America. I think she's destroyed California. However, when you look at this woman and you see the current state that she's in, you cannot help but have a little bit of sorrow that she's in this struggle, but also that they would still put her out there on the playing field. I think she's going to run again. I mean, she's never indicated that she ever wants to step away. I mean, this woman can't even get out a thought coherently. So not one video from her last speech, but two videos. And I play these videos not to make fun at the mentally handicapped old people like Nancy Pelosi. We have to expose these people. We have to show the people that vote, this is what you're voting for. Nancy Pelosi, an old doddering fool who can't even get out a coherent thought. So 2 videos today. Let's go to the first video where she's literally just like, you know, brain freezing, jaw problems, doesn't know what's going on.
After adding $2 trillion to the debt, Republicans plan $2 trillion worth of cuts all over the country. We're having a tax scam, the tax march. What does this mean to your state? In Arizona, in Texas, in Illinois, in Florida, in New York, in Massachusetts, in California. Did I say California more than once? It's a big state. House Democrats introduced H.R. 5011. You have to ask yourself, why would they not want to protect the integrity of our elections?
Why wouldn't you want to protect the border?
Everybody
and have voter
cares
ID
about that.
What a fraud.
Well, in any case, on to, for decades I've called on the administration of both parties. I wanted to just say another thing here that is happening this week. This week we had the 6th being the 14 months since, and the first day of the new elections, and why we should have election security, and creating good-paying jobs, reducing cost, is how we got here where we were in 2008 in the first place. Because again, there's some features that you might say, how do we help community banks? How do we help raise that number? I think that number could be raised.
Okay. And you've got leftist, liberal, communist media telling you that Trump is unfit for office. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this woman is the example for unfit for office. I mean, she should honestly be removed from her seat just for humanitarian issues. I mean, this woman can't even think straight. She can't even figure out her papers. I mean, it's like, and then you notice what she says. I mean, again, does she actually believe this? Think about what she says. She says she wants election security. Nancy Pelosi saying she wants election security. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the people that let illegals vote. These are the people that don't even want voter ID laws. And they're lecturing you about election security? How do you wrap your head around that? How phony are these people? How dumb do they think you are? Think about it like that way. Put whatever your political beliefs aside are. Put your political beliefs aside. Everyone should be insulted that the Democrats think that little of your intelligence. Everybody should be insulted that the Democrats think that you're so stupid that they can campaign on election security when they believe in open borders, illegal voting, and no voter ID laws. Okay? That's an insult to my intelligence. Now, she also says that she's for good-paying jobs. We need to do something to get good-paying jobs here. Literally, that's all Trump's done. Bonuses, wage increases, new jobs, unemployment record lows, employment record highs. And then again, what do the Democrats do? Trump bad, Trump Russia, Trump everything bad, negative, it's all bad. But we want good-paying jobs, even though that's all Trump has done. There's the Drudge Report. The crew's showing it on screen right now. Jobs blowout, plus 313,000, smashes expectations. A record number of Americans employed, over 155 million. Manufacturing jobs adds over 250,000 since Trump gets elected. Black, Hispanic unemployments hit all-time lows. Stocks hit record high. And then what do the Democrats say? Trump bad, we're for better paying jobs, even though they've done nothing to actually follow through on that. Now let's go to the second clip of Nancy Pelosi. Folks, you can see this woman clearly has a mental issue.
March 5th marked the 6 month, the end of the time frame state. The list goes on and on. We will. I'm very proud of the work of Benny Thompson and Ranking Member Thompson. Most exhilarating thrill for people. Man. It's not permanent.
This is painful to watch.
And again, as you know, yesterday, 14 months later, House and Senate is happening this week. This week we had the 6th being the 14-month in September of 2008. So why are we going home at 11 o'clock? That the Russians did attempt to disrupt our elections. You know, there's
they attempted and then attempted and then disrupted
his budget, cutting Medicare, but it shouldn't take that long. What the Republicans are doing that want to be exploded by the big banks is so wrong. You have to give them credit for being brazen. And we'll just see how it goes. But you might say, how do we help community banks? How do we help raise that number? I think that number could be raised.
Yeah, she raised it all right. She raised the number. She thinks there's 31 days in the month of February, and she thinks there's 14 months in the year. So what do you do? Well, you just call it out, you report on it, and you hope that the state of California is not ignorant enough to elect Nancy Pelosi ever again. And you know what? If the Democrats had any integrity, they would be doing everything they can to get Nancy Pelosi out of that seat just because for her own mental health. I mean, this is an embarrassment. I mean, look at those two video clips, folks. I mean, this is an embarrassment to this woman. This woman is an absolute embarrassment, and they're going to let her go out on a total low note. They're going to let her go out as a total failing nincompoop instead of just kind of easing her out and just saying, like, look, Nancy, you got to go. They're kind of doing it to Dianne Feinstein because you'll notice Dianne Feinstein kind of comes more central to negotiate with Trump, where Pelosi is a never Trumper, will never negotiate with Trump. Dianne Feinstein goes into like Wicked Witch mode and is like, oh, I can negotiate with Trump. So they've got to get rid of Feinstein, but nothing to get rid of Pelosi, who can't even complete a sentence and thinks there's 14 months in a year. I want today to be a turning point. Not just for America politically and socially, but let's all cross a threshold today. Let's all take the things that have been holding us back. Let's all take the negative things in our life, the negative things impacting us, the things that are keeping us down, and let's put them in the past. Let's get rid of them. Let's take the lead shoes off of ourselves. Let's take the lead shoes off of our family. Let's take the lead shoes off of our businesses and everything. Let's take all the negativity. Let's take all of the rot that's been holding us back, that's been keeping us down, and let's sprint forward together better to the next level. Just like President Trump is removing the lead shoes off of America in the race to give us a chance to compete, why don't we do the same thing in our personal lives? Whatever's holding you back, whatever negativity or whatever's holding you back personally, with your family, with your private life, with your career, with your business, with your company, whatever it is, it's time to now commit to taking the step forward, to removing the negative aspects and coming forward in a positive light. Take the lead shoes off yourself. Take the lead shoes off your company, and let's all sprint forward together to make America great again. Now, what some might say is a visual representation of this. The story is at Infowars.com. Video, Tommy Robinson knocks out violent migrant in Italy. Now, this is a representation of being fed up and not taking crap anymore. Now, I just want to be clear. I am not suggesting anyone be violent ever. I'm not suggesting you be violent or do anything like this, but here's the video. This wild migrant in England, or I guess this is in Italy, excuse me, Tommy Robinson reporting from Italy, and this wild migrant comes up and starts insulting his family and threatens to kill his family and then raises his fist at him, and so Tommy Robinson knocks him out. Just throws one right hand and says goodnight, and that's that. Not dealing with the negativity, not taking it anymore, not letting this man bring him down and distract him. Just saying, okay, you know what? I'm sorry, I gotta put you down. You're done. I'm not being distracted by you. I'm not taking your negativity anymore. And you're done. And you're done. And so that's what happens. The migrant raises his fist, says, I can kill your family, and Tommy Robinson decks him out cold. And then guess what? Tommy Robinson moves along with his life and his night and finishes his report and puts the negativity behind him. Takes the lead shoes off. So again, I'm not saying be violent or punch people or anything like that. I'm just saying let's all as an audience, let's all as a country, let's all as a people, just think about the things that have been holding you back. Think about the negative things in your life that have been keeping you down, keeping you from going to the next level, and just commit to putting it behind you and just take that next step forward and don't look back and only look forward. And just press on. Because that's what we have to do. That's how you make things better. That's how you make other people around you better. That's how you change civilization. That's how you change culture. If you sit and you just let the negative things continue to hold you back for whatever reason, or you harp on the negativity all day and you can never move forward, you'll never make anything great. You'll never make anything great. You'll never accomplish anything. So I just want today, with everything Trump is doing with the tariffs, with everything Trump is doing with the bad trade deals, with everything Trump is doing to make it fair for America again, to give America, allow America to breathe. It's like America has had asthma for the last 50 years, and Trump is finally getting rid of the asthma so that we can breathe clear and compete again. So let's all do that in our personal lives too. Just remove the negativity, remove the things holding you back, and press forward and be great, be better than what you are. Because believe me, the sky is, I mean, there are no limitations for humans. I mean, that's the amazing thing about it. That's why we build rockets. That's why we build light rails. That's why we fly around the country. That's why we have 3D televisions and all this amazing technology. So I think today represents something, at least for me, where we cross a threshold. And I think America's about to wake up to this, folks. And I'm seeing it in the news stories. Joy Behar has to apologize. Susan Sarandon admits that basically sex is like currency in Hollywood. You've now got people standing up to the bullies in the Me Too movement like Ryan Seacrest. He's standing up for it, and then the producers are getting behind him too. So it's time to push back against the bullying and to just get them out of the way. The Democrats are considering dropping the superdelegate rigged election policy for their nomination. You know, maybe that's because Hillary thinks she's going to run again, and they know that she'll just win by cheating with the superdelegate, so they got to do something about that. I've got this news here. People are spending 25% less time on Facebook. That's a good thing. That is great. Beyond the fact that I can't stand Facebook, I wouldn't mind if Facebook was gone forever, but I'm just glad that people are not wasting their time and destroying their psychology and their mental capacity by sitting on social media all day. Then you got the story in the New York Post. Millennials are starting to hate social media too. Popularity on Instagram going down. Popularity on Twitter going down. And then you got Newsweek. Newsweek exec says, we got to turn the business around or we're dead. Well, yeah, if you want to, stop engaging in ad fraud or whatever it is you're doing over there. And you know what? You've got this story where Newsweek gets caught engaging in ad fraud, and now all of the allegations about them engaging in ad fraud and all their sponsors and all the people that fund them are looking at that. They're in all kinds of trouble over there. But let me just be clear about something. If you think Newsweek was the only leftist news outlet faking ad numbers, buying up ad shares, and fabricating ad data, no sirree, Bob. No sirree, Bob. They're just the only ones that have been caught so far. You bet your bottom dollar. I'll just say it like this. You bet your bottom dollar that some of our competitors that people might put right across from us in the aisle and call them our competitors, you bet your bottom dollar they're engaging in ad fraud too. They're all engaging in fabricating their numbers, fabricating their views, fabricating their followers. It's all bought. It's all fake. And then CNN can barely even crack an audience of 250,000, even though they pay to be in hotels, gyms, and airports all across the United States. Think about that. Think about that. So while all that's going on, InfoWars, that just asks you to support us, and we give you great products in response, we're expanding. We're hiring more people. We're getting more reporters. We're doing more live broadcasts. We're getting more crew. We're expanding our store. And that's all because of you. So InfoWarsStore.com, we've got huge specials running right now. And we don't have to fabricate our numbers. In fact, our numbers get fabricated down. They rigged the system to keep us down. Our numbers are probably double what you actually see. That's the amazing thing about it. And we still beat them. And that's why they're so mad. That's why Hillary Clinton is sitting on TV saying, why aren't I 50 points ahead? Because she cheated and she still lost. That's what the left is doing in the media. They're all cheating. They're all fabricating their numbers. They're fabricating their ad shares. They're fabricating their followers. They're all cheating, and they're still losing. You're a bunch of cheaters, and you still can't beat us, even though you're trying to keep us down with lead shoes. Oh, my gosh. I'm telling you, I can feel the victory. InfoWarsStore.com, folks. Continue to support us. We will continue to be victorious. Leanne McAdoo joins me on the other side. And Leanne McAdoo is with me in studio as well. Now, here's what's happening. This is why I keep saying that the Overton window is being pushed so far. I'm not sure if you would say it's so far to the left or so far to the right, but the left is going so far, to the left of Trotsky, that just an average, quote-unquote, liberal or, whatever you want to say, somebody that would be on the left, is now leaning more centrist and even coming over more to the right of things, just because the left has pushed the Overton window so far to the left that if you're a centrist, now all of a sudden you're on the right of it. So some of the stories that are good examples of this, Leanne has some. We'll start with this one right here. Sweden rules in favor of wife-beating husband, cites Sharia law. So what's going on in Sweden is an absolute travesty. It's now, it used to be one of the most beautiful, great countries on earth, up there in Northern Europe. Now with the open borders, you've got these radical Islamic migrants going into the city, destroying schools, destroying towns, making it no-go zones. And now the liberal government is so cucked, that if you beat your wife and then cite Sharia law, they say that that's just okay. I mean, how can somebody that claims to be about people and peace and getting along, the modern day left, the modern day liberal, be okay with Sharia law? I mean, look at this. You're watching the video right now. I mean, how is this possible, Leanne?
It's madness, and you can't speak out against it. You know, these women apparently don't matter because that's their religion. And I don't know what this video is trying to show. I know that they had some meetings recently about how big the size of the stick could be that you could beat your wife with. You know, it had to be of a certain diameter.
Yeah, you can beat your wife as long as it's with the correct Quran.
Can't be larger than your thumb. That's what it was.
We have to cite the Quran. It'll tell us how big the stick is we can use to beat our wife.
Right. And then, of course, we've got these other shows where they're glamorizing converting to Islam and marrying these men just to kind of make it normal, put it out,
They use the TV media to kind of push that agenda.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then, of course, even here in the United States, there was a story on the Drudge Report yesterday where a politician is taking the Me Too movement to task, especially there in California, because they are protecting these illegal immigrants who were on the list to be deported because they were beating their wives, domestic violence, shooting women, things like that. And they were protected. And this lawmaker's like, what are you... So do you care about women or do you not care about women? Do we keep these people here illegally, even though they are sexual and domestic abuse with them? I mean, it's just the hypocrisy. Like, where do we draw the line? We don't even know what's... You have to disavow, Trump disavow, but meanwhile, we've got all these Democrats hanging out with Louis Farrakhan, and that's totally fine. So I think people are starting to recognize that there is just a total double standard here. And like you said, things going so far to the left, we've got a Bay Area coffee shop that won't serve police for safety of their customers, right? And so I guess maybe they're thinking they've got a lot of people that could possibly be deported, so they don't want the police officers to come in.
Well, and is it that, or is it they just have such a disdain for police and they buy into this brainwashing that every police officer is just waiting for an excuse to beat you up and pummel you and shoot you, where, you know what? Hey, look, we've covered that. There are police officers that do that. There are police officers that are out of control. We cover it. We report on it. And you try to get rid of the bad eggs. That doesn't mean that you sit here and you say, oh, I'm not going to serve a man in uniform, you know, because another man in uniform, you know, 500 blocks down the road in a different town altogether, you know, did something bad to whoever. It just shows the mental illness of it all to say, wow, we're not even going to serve police. So how about the police say, okay, fine, you know what? If someone robs your store then and you call us, sorry, we can't go.
Exactly. Well, they've got a sign up that says in Spanish, talk to your neighbors, not the police. We need support of the actual community to keep this place safe, not police. And so they're kind of creating the no-go zone where it's like, we're gonna rule ourselves, we'll police ourselves, we don't need you. But we've seen crime rise when these communities force police officers out or say, you know, don't come here. Well, then the crime is on the rise. And so this is what the left is aligning themselves with, is just hating the police, and you know, having to have 58,000 plus homeless people in LA, for instance. Here's a story: thousands of pounds of human waste, close to 14,000 hypodermic needles cleaned out from Santa Ana River homeless encampments. So not only do they have the maps, I think you guys were talking about
the feces maps.
The feces maps and things, but thousands of pounds of human waste. So this is sick. So this is a state that can't take care of their 58,000 homeless people. They wonder why they're having these massive outbreaks of syphilis and other, you know, sexually transmitted diseases you thought were eradicated, you know, hundreds of years ago. But then they want to tell the rest of the country and spend millions of their taxpayer dollars helping illegal immigrants get lawyers to keep them here in the country.
Well, and let's go look, guys, pull up information on the Clean Needle program. So this is just a perfect example of how liberal policies and ideas don't work, but they live in some sort of a pipe dream where they think if you just give somebody something for free, they're going to clean up their act, they're going to turn the corner, and everything is going to be great again. So they have this epidemic of people, you know, shooting up heroin or whatever in the streets of California, and they have all these dirty needles. And then what they come to find out is, okay, they figure we've got all these people sharing needles to get high, and they're sharing needles, and then this is causing disease to spread. So the state of California thinks that this is a brilliant idea. Well, how about we give them clean needles? So we'll make sure they're not using dirty needles. So then they flood the streets with quote-unquote clean needles. And then what happens? That enables the drug use. The drug use goes up, and then the clean needles end up dirtying the streets, end up winding up all over the streets. So this is a perfect example how a liberal policy pipe dream, like, oh, we've got this drug problem and this dirty needle problem. I know. Let's just give them the clean needle. That'll clean it all up. The streets will be clean. The drug use will go down. The disease will go down. No, all three went up. This is a perfect example of how liberal policies fail.
Right. And I can understand, you know, probably the heart there was in the right place for these people in their harm reduction clinics, thinking, well, they're going to do it anyway. We might as well try to reduce the rising rate of AIDS and whatever. But right, why don't we actually help these people get out of homelessness? Why don't we actually help them get off the drugs and help with these mental health facilities? Like, let's actually address the problems that we're facing in our society, not just you know, building them tents and stuff to at least make them comfortable while they're homeless.
Well, and why do we want to do this to the inner cities? Why do we want to put the beautiful cities of America like San Francisco, one of the most beautiful cities in America, why do you want to put this tarnishment on it with the homelessness and the poverty? I mean, they spend all this money. I mean, you at least think they could I mean, if they really cared about this problem, and you know what? I don't know the mindset of a homeless person in San Francisco. I think that at this point, they're so entitled and empowered.
Well, this is in the Orange County, the OC, which is like one of the most beautiful places in the country.
Well, I think that what they've done now is they've empowered and entitled the homeless population down there so much, they think they run the city. They think they can, you know, crap wherever they want, urinate wherever they want, stab, shoot whoever they want. They run the city. So if you ever suggest like, hey, we want to do something, we want to have a program where we try to clean out the city of all this disgusting drug use, homelessness, feces and everything, but we realize there's a problem, so we're going to address it, but we're going to, you know, at least get it out of the city. Like, at least get it out of the city, let's clean up the city, and then maybe address the problems that these individuals are having. But they think they run the city now. They literally are so empowered by the Democrats out there, they run things.
Right. Well, and it's also a lot of pushback as well, because most people...
Oh, yeah, the ACLU?
Most people in San Francisco are just a paycheck away from being homeless, thanks to the things that are going on there with all the tech giants moving in and just raising the price of everything, meanwhile not bringing in any jobs for middle class and lower class income workers. They can't even afford to live there. And so many people really are just a paycheck away from homelessness there. It's kind of an anger.
I forget where it was. It was in California. It may have been San Francisco, where an 840-foot square house, 840 square feet, sold for $2 million. I think it was $2 million. I mean, and then you have the homeless people just all over the streets. I mean, San Francisco and California, folks, liberal hellhole. Alex Jones is on the road. He will be back. In the meantime, Owen Schroyer filling in for him. Leanne McAdoo in studio with me here from the InfoWars World Headquarters in Austin, Texas. We've got specials right now at InfoWarsStore.com. In case you haven't noticed, InfoWars is expanding massively. We've actually got crews right now live streaming from South by Southwest. You had David Knight live this morning for 3 hours, then the Alex Jones Show for 4 hours, then the War Room, usually hosted by myself and Roger Stone from 3 to 6 p.m. Central. And it's all possible with your support at InfoWarsStore.com. And we make it easy on you when we run these specials because we have huge discounts right now. 50% off at least 20 items, 80% off at least 15 items, free shipping store-wide, and some of the most popular products that we sell, including Super Male and Super Female Vitality, the Real Red Pill, True Whey Protein, Prebiotic Fiber, our brand new product. All of those are 50% off right now. So even our top sellers, we bring to you at 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com. And then we have household items like Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste. Everybody uses toothpaste. Everybody's family has toothpaste. Everybody's house has toothpaste in it. Are you about to run out? Don't go to the store and buy the normal fluoride-ridden toothpaste that you get. Go to InfoWarsStore.com and get the fluoride-free Super Blue toothpaste that includes nascent iodine and colloidal silver, a toothpaste unlike any other on planet Earth. It's also on sale right now. And you can sign up for the auto ship option with that and get an additional 10% off. So let's say you know that your family runs out of toothpaste every 60 days, 30 days, whatever it is. You get the auto ship on there. We'll always make sure that the toothpaste gets shipped to you. Even if we run out, we'll always have some reserved for you, and you'll get an additional 10% off. Of course, that option is available, the auto ship option, with all of our products in the health department. But Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste, a great household item, a great way to support Infowars.com, and it's on sale right now, 30% off. So take advantage of all the specials and free shipping store-wide at InfoWarsStore.com. Well, we are about to... Who's got the fourth hour today, guys? Who do we have to look forward to? Doug Hagman? Wonderful. Wonderful. You know, Doug Hagman's going to have, I'm sure, breaking news. He's been monitoring some of the developments about the creation of a second special counsel, as well as the Horowitz document that is set to be released here, I think in about a week. So I'm sure he'll have updates on all of that. In the meantime, let's see what we want to do here. You've got Trump calling the Oakland mayor a disgrace. Sarah Sanders being forced to address the Stormy Daniels nonsense. It's all crazy. You know, Leanne, I feel like today's news cycle was actually very positive with everything I'm seeing. Obviously, the jobs numbers, the jobs numbers up. You've got unemployment numbers down. You've got social media going down. You've got liberals
North Korea, maybe
the North Korea deal. I mean, what do you if you put your pulse on the news cycle today? What do you think it's showing you?
Well, I think it's showing a lot of people. If you turn on a certain network, you're seeing President Trump is actually the tough stance he took with Kim Jong-un and those bombastic tweets. Kind of, it appears as if it had Kim Jong-un go, all right, you know what? I'm dealing with someone who's not gonna be strategically patient.
Who's not a cuck.
Right, but then if you turn on other networks, they're like, why isn't everyone talking about this porn star? Like, that's not the most important thing that's going on in the world right now. And so I think a lot of people are able to see that they are not getting the important news, which is why you point out the networks their ratings are failing, and they're getting sick and tired of every single thing is literally going to kill us.
But doesn't it show the double standard where they sit here and they obsess over Donald Trump and some relationship with some porn star, which they don't even know if they have the right porn star now. I don't know if you saw that story. Now there's 2 Stormy Daniels. They don't even know what's going on. And they obsess over that like it's the biggest story in the world while Trump's trying to have peace talks with North Korea. You know, Trump's bringing the jobs back and everything. And they obsess over that. But it shows the double standard where when Bill Clinton was in office and, you know, playing with every intern that showed up at his desk. Oh, that was just Bill being Bill. You know, that's just men being men back then.
And of course, they only seized upon that one intern because that was the one they could say was consensual. All the other ones that were non-consensual, all those other allegations, those continued to be ignored.
And even Lewinsky is coming out now and being like, you know what? She's doing interviews. She's like, I've had post-traumatic stress syndrome since that event. I mean, that event, destroyed me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine that's how devastating that would be for years. I mean, it seems like she's doing well now, turned out to be a beautiful woman. So she gets the last laugh, I suppose, especially seeing now after decades later, the Clintons finally getting their dues.
Well, we hope. I mean, every day Hillary Clinton walks free.
Being called out at the debate, that was very...
And, of course, the info warriors that would call him out, too.
Right.
With the Bill Clinton rape challenge.
Yes. But here's something else positive that I'm seeing. So while we have these tech giants targeting us and wanting to shut down conservatives and silence any dissident voices out here, people are actually tuning them out. And this isn't looking good for Facebook. They are... it looks like they have had a 24% drop in just the last month on people spending time on Facebook. People are tuning it out. They realize that they're being force-fed the news that Zuckerberg wants them to get, and then he does away with that altogether and says, oh, we're just going to show you more cat videos and pictures of your kids on vacation. So people are spending less time on Facebook, and as well, millennials are now starting to hate social media too. More than half of users between the ages of 18 and 24 reveal they are seeking relief from social media. And 34% of these young users report having deleted their social media accounts entirely. And much of them have at least taken at least 1, 2, 3 of these different apps off their phone. They're taking a break. So people are starting to get burnt out from this, you know, constant in your face social media. Give us all your information, give us all your data. I know there was a story yesterday about a girl who went $10,000 in debt because she was trying to create this Instagram profile like, oh, I wear designer purses and designer bags. I'm an intern. I don't actually have any money, but I need to keep up these appearances.
Yeah, there's like this thing where you just be an Instagram model or
right.
something.
And so people are starting to tune out of this inauthentic lifestyle. People want the realness. They don't want to see your, you know, fancy purses and things. It's not even real.
And I think there's an angle to this too where they didn't even realize that that's what they wanted until these social media platforms became so toxic where you can't even, you know, when this stuff first came around, it was very open forum and you pretty much just got whatever you wanted. And you didn't have to deal with any, you know, politics being shoved down your throat or any bias or agenda being shoved down your throat. But now all of the social media platforms are doing that. Now, I haven't been on Facebook in like, I don't know, 5 years or so. I don't do Instagram. I've been on Twitter. I've personally boycotted Twitter. I do a little Twitter activity on the War Room's Twitter account. But for the most part, I've pretty much been hands off of all social media for a while now, except a little bit of Twitter here and there. Except one that I always liked was Snapchat. I always liked Snapchat because it was easy. You can just be personal, one-on-one with somebody. They don't shove any agenda. You don't have to deal with the political messages. But now even Snapchat has done that. Now, if you go into Snapchat, and they've reworked the whole thing, it's terrible. And now you can't even watch someone snap. So if I go and I watch a snap from Leanne, as soon as that's concluded, now they shove their political agenda down my throat. Now I'm hearing about Stormy Daniels. Now I'm hearing about the Jonas Brothers. And so the average social media user, it just gives them a headache, and they're like, I'm just done with it. I don't want it anymore.
They're wagging on this failing campaign. I mean, when are they going to get it? We have Jimmy Kimmel blaming it on Netflix that they have disastrous ratings, lowest ever. People are tuning out from this. They're sick and tired of having things shoved in their face, shoved down their throat. Oh, this is the kind of lifestyle you want to live. And then people are like, you know what? That's not real to me. They are craving authenticity. People want the realness. That's why they love InfoWars so much, because we're teleprompter free and we're just giving it to you like it is. We're not getting directions passed down from the, you know, top networks or our, you know, controllers somewhere behind the scenes. It's just, you know, Owen Schroyer, Leanne McAdoo, just giving our take.
And if that,
honestly, with our bias included.
and if that predicts the future, that would mean that a lot of these people are going to end up liking Donald Trump, because I mean, he's about as real as it gets as far as politics are concerned. I mean, you're not going to find anyone real out of the Democrat Party. I mean, I used to look at Tulsi Gabbard as the example, but now even Tulsi Gabbard, it's like, man, you're getting poisoned by the liberal poison now. It's unbelievable. Leanne McAdoo, thank you so much for joining us. Owen Schroyer, I've been filling in for Alex Jones this week. He is going to return. It's been an honor talking to you. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Doug Hagman takes over the 4th hour. He's going to have all the breaking news on his end on the other side. This is the Alex Jones Show. Well, coming in to close out this victory today is Doug Hagman. And I'll tell you, Doug Hagman, he's going to mess around here and wind up on Roger Stone's best dressed list if he continues to come on the air dressed like this. We haven't heard from Doug in a minute. He wants to talk about some of the censorship. Now, it's incredible where it's like they admit they're censoring, they admit this is what they're doing, they get caught doing it, and then we report on it, and then they call us fake news. It's like some of the weirdest stuff you've ever seen. But regardless of that, don't you think, Doug, that the censorship that they're engaging in right now really shows how behind they are?
You are 100% correct. I heard Alex, his report from the road. I heard the entire program. I've been following this issue. You single-handedly, the platform of InfoWars and those who support InfoWars and those who mimic InfoWars have actually created the environment, I believe, in which we live. And right now, the people who want, I mean, the people who have waged this battle of censorship, they know that they cannot possibly win on the facts. They cannot refute the criminality of Obama. Obama's struggling to contain his legacy, maintain his legacy. But the bottom line is it's crumbling in the face of the criminality. So they've got to shut or attempt to shut down outlets like InfoWars, like ours, like so many that have been shut down across the landscape over the last several days in particular. And yeah, so that they're showing their vulnerability, their weaknesses. And I've got to tell you, I was talking with my good friend Steve Quayle, who appeared on your show, and he's got the world praying for InfoWars. He's got the world praying for those people who have been hit by this censorship. And I just want to say this. Owen, look, those of you who have been blessed, who have been informed, been red-pilled by InfoWars, by Alex Jones, by the entire InfoWars team, y'all need to stand up for us. financially and audibly. Make your voices heard and not merely claim that you stand silently with us. And I think this is so important, but I also think that this is what's happening. And this is why we're seeing the blowback. And instead of standing behind us, saying you're standing behind us, I personally invite you to stand with us, not behind us. And that way we can make the difference.
And real quick, Steve Quill, a great documentary filmmaker, you can find his documentaries at InfoWarsStore.com. I do enjoy those documentaries, and we thank Steve Quill for leading that prayer initiative. But, you know, Doug, I feel like right now we're at a point, the dam is breaking. The dam is breaking on the fake news. The dam is breaking on the back of the globalists. The population is slowly kind of starting to get it. They're still kind of in denial. They're still kind of getting high off the Trump hatred and everything. But it's slowly starting to wear off. Social media is dying. The liberal platforms are dying. The liberal news networks are dying. And I feel like while the dam right now is cracking and you're starting to see some leaks here and some leaks there, and maybe the water's coming over the edge a little bit, I feel like what's next that's going to break the dam is everything coming out about the Obama corruption, everything coming out about the Hillary corruption. It feels inevitable right now. And we're kind of impatiently hoping Sessions and Trump do some big action here. People end up in jail. But I feel like that's the moment the dam breaks. As soon as this becomes irrefutable and they cannot fake news about it anymore, the corruption during the Obama administration, to me, that's when the dam breaks and it's just over for them.
And that's what I've got. I've got some news. I've in preparation of this time with your listeners and viewers. I reached out to some people within Washington. I've also verified some open source information. Bottom line here, that breakage is about to occur because now there are things that are changing. The IG report coming out, the very well, and you reported on this, the very shall we say, the much missed announcement by Jeff Sessions that, hey, there's been a prosecutor working all along during this investigation. Bottom line here is there's things that are happening behind the scenes. The globalists they've got poopy pants. They're on the run.
That's Doug Hagman. Owen Schroyer here signing off. Doug Hagman takes over the Alex Jones Show.
This is Doug Hagman sitting in for Alex Jones, InfoWars, Infowars.com. Just at the tip of the spear, Infowars is at the tip of the spear. You know, I was just talking with Owen Schroyer just right before, or in the first part of this hour, and we were talking about the issue of censorship. Folks, look, we need to defeat CNNs and the other lobotomize the liberals, liberal fascists. We need to. We've already got them on the run, but we need to defeat them. And what we need to do is those of you who have been again blessed by Alex Jones, blessed by Infowars, blessed by the entire team there. You need to stand up for us, for them. You need to stand up financially and audibly. You need to make your voice heard, but you also need to, in supporting them financially. Hey, visit. There's no better time right now than to visit InfoWarsStore.com. I just have right here with me. This is fantastic. I'm going to take advantage of this. You can defeat CNN's attempt to crush InfoWars and other platforms like it. Operation Paul Revere Week 2 2018 special, 30 to 80% off site-wide plus free shipping. Folks, InfoWars dropping prices 30% or more off of all items site-wide with free shipping to help save big while supporting the truth. How important is this? We're constantly under the threat. Censorship attacks, and InfoWars needs your support. We need your support more than ever to fight back. A minimum 30% off applies store-wide. Now, I've got to tell you, just from my own experience on these products, you've got the super male, super female vitality. Of course, I'm on the male side. There's no gender question there. 50% off there. Pollen block, 50%. My wife takes that, by the way. Okay, she's got these terrific allergies. That works. The real red pill, 50% off. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but if you want to make a difference, and you should, we need to stand with, not behind, but with InfoWars, and you can do so, of course, by visiting InfoWarsStore.com. Take advantage of the Operation Paul Revere Week 2 2018 special, 30 to 80% off site-wide. Look, we are all fighting lawsuits. I'm personally fighting a lawsuit. Alex Jones is fighting multiple lawsuits. Actually, Hagman Report is as well. The environment, the landscape has changed. The way that InfoWars is doing this, offering you product a fantastic product to help support this operation. You can't beat it. So I would urge everyone to go to InfoWarsStore.com right now. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's help defeat CNN's attempt to crush InfoWars and other platforms like that. Support InfoWarsStore.com. Now, a couple of things that caught my attention right before I came on. And God bless InfoWars for being on the tip on this. You know, a couple of I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, we had the pleasure of interviewing Chris Saucier. You remember that that gentleman on the submarine who took a couple of really innocuous pictures and ultimately was classified for, or ultimately was charged with having classified information, possessing classified information. This, of course, while the special compartmentalized information on the Clinton servers runs rampant. Well, guess what? Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, pardons Christian Saucier. There are the pictures right there. You can see them right there on your screen. Look, here's the bottom line. There are two, and you've heard this before, there are two tiers of justice. You've got justice for us and then justice for them. This, to me, signifies that the recognition of this dual justice system is really being addressed by our president, and that's President Donald Trump. And I'm sure some lobotomized liberals' heads, whatever might be left of them, are exploding right now at just the thought that here goes Christian Saucier. And having talked with this gentleman off air and on air, I've got to tell you, his life was in tatters. It was ruined. It was he was thrown in jail. His family was left to barely survive. It's a tale of extreme woe. And we stood with Christian Saucier. There he is there with his lovely family. And the bottom line is this man was a victim of political persecution, while you've got the Clintons and others like the Clintons out there, in my view, really just escaping justice. But are they really escaping justice? Well, during the in the run-up to the show, and this is something I talked about on the Doug Hagman radio show yesterday. That's my program from 9 to 10. A little plug there for my show, and that runs from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern time. If you go to HagmanReport.com, that's my home, by the way, HagmanReport.com. 2 N's on Hagman. But having said that, there's something going on here. And Alex Jones, InfoWars, that team recognized what's going on, and there is something taking place behind the scenes, and I've got some information about this that everyone needs to know. And I'm going to be covering this for the most part for my appearance here, because this is so critical. When you look at what is taking place, the criminality, the rampant criminality that has gone on inside Washington, inside the swamp, we talk about it, we hear about it. You get so sick and tired of hearing about it. I know you do. We do. We get sick and tired of reporting on it. And when is somebody going to do something about it? We've been yelling. We've been saying, "Where's Sessions?" And I've been seeing the cartoonish references to Jeff Sessions and that whole thing. I get all that, and it seems like there's nothing ever gets done because there's no one there to take anyone for a perp walk. Relying on my years of investigative experience, I've seen the perp walks. I've seen the justice meted out. I've seen the people roll over. I saw something here, and again, you can find this report on InfoWars. There was a report issued here by the LifeZet, report issued by Conservative Treehouse. I think it was yesterday, and just a few other outlets, wherein it appears. Well, it doesn't appear. Jeff Sessions met with Shannon Bream on Fox News 2 days ago, and there was a quote. It was about appointing a special counsel, but buried within that quote, and I would urge you to go to Infowars.com to read this, because it's also there and it's in the proper context. Buried within that quote, or buried within that interview, was an admission by Jeff Sessions. And it was not picked up. It was not even expanded upon during that interview, where Jeff Sessions was asked about a special counsel. Yeah, we're going to consider it. And then he said something really weird. And I'm not sure how many people picked up on this. Again, preciously few, apparently. He said that basically there's been a prosecutor has been working with the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz now. He didn't really specify as to when, but when I started looking at this and putting the pieces together, it looks like they've been working together since, I'm going to say, right about July, August of 2017. And there it is on your screen. The article to which I'm referring appears on Infowars.com. Sessions appointed appointed prosecutor months ago to investigate possible crimes, might appoint a special prosecutor. Now, that last part of that, yeah, might appoint a special prosecutor. That's fine. That's well and good. But when you look at this critical, I don't know, 15, 16, 19 seconds worth of audio, that video where he says, you know, we've had an investigator to work parallel with or in conjunction with Attorney General Michael Horowitz. And of course, Attorney General Horowitz has gone through 1.2 million documents. He has gone through the corruption within the Department of Justice and the FBI. You know that. We know this. It's well known. And he's coming out with a report here shortly, anytime, perhaps later this month or early next month. But why was that? I'm going to tell you why here right after this next break, and I want you to stay with us because I'm going to explain why this is so critical and why you and me together, we might have been underestimating the entirety of the reach and tactics of Jeff Sessions, Attorney General. When this is all said and done, I'm going to tell you right now, it does look very much like he's been on point for quite some time. Be right back. Doug Hagman, humbly sitting in for Alex Jones right here, Infowars, Infowars.com. Again, we need to support Infowars in the battle. They are trying to say the globalists, the liberal, lobotomized liberals, limousine liberals, the liberal fascists, they are attempting to silence us, your opinions on Facebook, Twitter. You know this. We've been saying this all week long. Of course, the battle is on. Now you've got to choose which side you want to be on. No longer can we be silent. No longer can we be relegated to merely reacting. We must now respond, and that's exactly what Alex Jones is doing. That's exactly what we're doing. Enough of the pussyfooting around, quite frankly. Look, we, Alex Jones, Infowars, the entire team at Infowars, War Room, everybody combined, collectively and individually, has put their necks on the line to bring you the truth. And here's what we ask you to do. Don't stand silently behind us. Stand next to us. Don't stand silently. Make your voice audibly heard. And as well, visit InfoWarsStore.com for their wonderful products. Doing so helps the cause. I cannot stress this enough. Anytime. This operation takes a lot of money to really, it takes a lot of money to run this operation. So get next to Alex Jones, get next to Infowars, get next to all of us, and let's collectively really put the final nail in the coffin of the globalists. Now, before the break, I was talking about the slyness of Jeff Sessions, perhaps, and of course, we've seen the rather, well, the poor. Now, my goodness, what the calling Jeff Sessions Mr. Magoo, the references, the caricatures, the cartoon-like things that we see Jeff Sessions being classified as. But there's something going on here that has been missed, except for Infowars and a few other places. There again, it does appear that there is a special prosecutor, and that's not in the sense of a special counsel. That's not in the sense of a independent counsel, but a Department of Justice outside of the swamp, former DOJ prosecutor working alongside with Office of the Attorney General, Michael Horowitz. Now consider this. When asked by Shannon Bream on Fox News, and there it is up on the screen, and I would urge everyone to go to this article on Infowars.com, watch the video, listen carefully to what is said, because this was glossed over by so many people, again, with the exception for those people really paying attention. It was interesting when he was asked about a secondary special counsel, and I'm going to refer to my notes here because the money statement is extremely important to hear. He said that, yeah, I'm well aware, for example, that we've got a responsibility to ensure the integrity of the FISA process. We're not afraid to look at that. The Inspector General, some think that our Inspector General is not very strong. And of course, that's the reference to Michael Horowitz. But he has almost 500 employees, most of which are lawyers and prosecutors, and they are looking at the FISA process, may I add, FISA abuse process, or abuse of the FISA process. Now, he adds that we must make sure it's done properly, and we're going to do that, and I'll consider their request. That's referencing the special counsel. But then everyone's kind of stopped paying attention, both before and after that. What he did say, and what was missed for the most part, is this. I have appointed a person outside of Washington, many years in the Department of Justice, to look at all of the allegations that the House Judiciary Committee members sent to us, and we're conducting that investigation. And what does that mean? Well, I take it to mean, after my investigation, my research into this, and also my contacting with a federal source inside of the Beltway, that's outside of the swamp, yet in the periphery of the swamp, is that, hey, there has been an investigation with teeth going on. Now, obviously, number one, it's important to understand that it's the duty of the Office of the Inspector General, and most of us know this, but it's good to really reinforce this. The Office of the Inspector General is required, when they find criminality, they need to report this to their superiors. And there's 73 independent offices of inspector generals all across the government. We're talking about one office, one man, Michael Horowitz, looking into the FISA abuse process and the Department of Justice and FBI issues, the criminality therein. In that, of course, you hear familiar names. Peter Strzok, Batman, Lisa Page, his paramour, the extramarital tryst, Bruce Orr and his wife Nellie Orr. Bruce Orr being number 4 at Main Justice. Nellie Orr being, of course, an employee of Fusion GPS. Also, suddenly a ham radio operator. Go figure with that. Those are the people we're looking at, but there's more. There's Bill Priestep. There's James Baker. Bill Priestep, once head of the counterintelligence agency. John Carlin and others. In total, there's about 5 people who still work within the venue of the inspector or the FBI and the Department of Justice. Many have criticized Horowitz, or many have criticized Sessions for saying that Horowitz can only investigate those still inside that the swamp, and that limits his reach. But if you listen to what Jeff Sessions said, and this is the takeaway from this. Sessions said, yeah, I've had a prosecutor working in tandem with, or in conjunction with, hand in hand with Horowitz since about mid-summer. Whoa, that changes everything. And again, I did my program on that yesterday morning. I would urge everyone to listen to that, as well as keep tabs with InfoWars. But there's also indications here, and this is you got to follow and listen to the entire hour here, because this is going to bring this home. And Owen Schroyer is talking about, the real push. We've seen the real push. And I think when you start lining up the censorship on one side, the push toward full censorship, and you start lining up the progress of the investigative progress on the other side, you're starting to see this connect. And I'm a dot connector. I love to connect the dots. I love the puzzle pieces are falling into place. And by the way, I used to spend hours when shredders first came out, or when shredders were first used in fraud investigations and $high-dollar fraud investigations. You spend hours putting together, trying to recreate documents that have been shredded. I'll tell you what, you get your kids involved. But you detectives and police officers out there know what I'm talking about. This is that. This is like that. This is what they're doing. They're recreating the criminality here. Everything that the old guard, the swamp creatures attempted to destroy, these people, Horowitz, his crew of nearly 500 employees, they're putting together. But to counter that handcuffing, to go outside of the swamp, go outside of the current DOJ and FBI, Sessions appointed someone to do just that. That is an unnamed prosecutor. And what does that mean? That means there's been some people, I can tell you right now, based on my investigation, who have flipped And and stay with me, because when you hear who has flipped, how they flipped, and why, I'm going to tell you, you're going to say, wow. Be right back. Stay right where you're at. Never before in the history of this country, in my view, have we been so at the precipice of so many key hinge moment events in time. And I'm so proud to be sitting in for Alex Jones, Doug Hagman sitting in for Alex Jones, Infowars.com. And the battle has been engaged. There on one side, you've got CNN and the lunatic left, the people who don't believe, for example, things like Pedagate exist, the sales of children as currency. They don't believe that exists. They don't believe in the worst machinations of the globalists, which is absolutely incredible when it's been proven over and over again. They're like ostriches with their heads buried in their sand, or otherwise they've got some issue of rectal cranial inversion, where they need either a proctologist or a general surgeon, depending on the depth of how far their head is buried. The fact of the matter is, again, Infowars, Alex Jones, tip of the spear, breaking the ice and fighting the censorship. And let it be known that each one of us, we need, look, those who have been blessed, those who have been informed, those who have been red-pilled by Infowars, by Alex Jones, we need to not just stand with them, but be audible and to fight for them, fight for us, and support us, not just by word of mouth, but also visit Infowars store. And while you're at it, look, I'm going to tell you right now, the product's there. If you can't find a product that you need or should be taken, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Myself, look, I've never been more, actually, I've never felt better than after I've been taking some of the pills or some of the nutritional supplements. My goodness, the probiotics there, the Brain Force Plus. Let me tell you, that Brain Force Plus, what a fantastic product. You cannot get any better than that, in my view. You talk about focus, you talk about clarity of thought, clarity of mind. That works. And right now, Infowars is having a 30 to 80% site-wide sale. I can think of no better time than right now. Look, support Infowars, support the free and unencumbered truth movement, support Infowars financially, support them audibly, make sure that your voices are heard, and not merely that you don't merely claim that you stand silently with us. Instead of doing so, get in the game, put some skin in the game, because at one point or another, at some point in the future, you will be in the game. Now, the last segment I was talking about the special prosecutor, or let me rephrase that, the prosecutor of the Department of Justice, who's been in place since approximately mid-July. Infowars reported on that, and here's, based on my investigative analysis, here's what we're seeing. Here's what's taking place. You've got the members of the Department of Justice. You've got the members of the FBI, at least 5 of them. They're sitting in their chairs and they are talking. And I'm familiar with very familiar as an investigator when you have a suspect or a subject and you've got the goods, which I think that in this case they do. Here's kind of the process, a little inside information. You might see this on television. You might find yourself, yeah, that sounds familiar. But think about this. You've got a group that have been really nailed within the Department of Justice and FBI. You and I know this. Infowars has reported on this. Others have been reporting on this. Here's the process, and I had made a reference to poopy pants before because I've actually seen this happen. Here's what they do: the investigators bring you into a room, they sit you down, and you're told not to do anything. You're told not to say anything or discuss anything until you get a lawyer. At which time, the lawyer comes in. He's handed a piece of paper that basically explains how screwed their client is. All right. And if you want to be less screwed, for example, you're going to sign this letter of cooperation, this proffer to assist us. And now this is the investigator talking, when we don't need you, you just sit there, you look pretty, you keep your mouth shut. When we do need you, we're going to tap you on the shoulder. We're going to have you testify. You're going to spill your guts. You're going to cooperate. And if you deviate from this practice, this policy, here's what happens. We're going to take you off to jail. Now, I make reference to that, to the individuals, I believe most likely in the crosshairs of both the Attorney General or the Inspector General and under the purview of the prosecutor working with the Inspector General, that being Michael Horowitz. I'm looking at people such as, perhaps, again, this is in my investigative analysis, people such as Peter Strzok, Batman. You've got Lois Lane there, or whatever, Lisa Page, his paramour. You've got Bruce Orr, number 4, Justice Maine. You've got Nellie Orr, his wife. You've got Carlin and others. But I'm going to say 5, maybe 6 people are in that position, because understand that prosecutor does have arrest powers and the power to negotiate a proffer with the Attorney General, who has indicated that he's been involved in this now for at least the last 7-8 months. And Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Bruce Nellie Orr, Bill Priestap, all of these. It's interesting because when you look at this, go back and look at the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, look at the memo. This is what I didn't see before, but was pointed out. And I'm amazed I didn't see this before, but some of the quotes within the memo, within the known as the Nunes memo, some of the quotes appear from Page and Strzok, including the texts that were released some time ago. But did you know this? Did you know that those quotes came from investigative interviews? Because they couldn't have come from anywhere else, because no congressional committee has interviewed those persons. Now, those would be a few of the people in the group I mentioned earlier, and their testimony to Michael Horowitz and a Department of Justice prosecutor would make them witnesses in a criminal investigation, which explains why they have not given interviews to the congressional committees. And when you look back at Devin Nunes, what he has done with respect to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and you look at the reaction by Adam Schiff, and you look and you get deep into the process, suddenly it's like a head slap moment. It's like, wait a minute, why didn't I see this before? Now things begin to make sense. Consider this as well. Why didn't President Trump know about this? Why didn't Jeff Sessions say, hey, Don, I got this handled, bro. Just sit back, relax. Because technically he can't. We have been used to the lawlessness of Barack Hussein Obama for 8 years. We have seen the weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI. We've seen the rot from within. And finally, we're seeing some semblance of law and order and investigations done the way they should be done. That's why. Because now they're playing by the investigative rules. That's why no one knows about this. That's why Nunes, for example, stood back and realized that, hey, we've got some people talking. Well, if so, why? Oh, wait a minute. Now with that little cited quote, and I would urge everyone to go to InfoWars, look at that article, critically look at that article. Listen to that video that's there. Listen to what Jeff Sessions says. And if I'm wrong, well, only one of two things. I misunderstood Jeff Sessions or he lied. I don't think it's the latter, and I certainly don't think it's the former. Doug Hagman sitting in for Alex Jones on this fantastic Friday. I want to thank you, Alex, for allowing me to do this. Hopefully I don't break your show. And hey, those of you who have been blessed by InfoWars, Red Pill, stand up with InfoWars. Visit InfoWars store, folks. On the other side, more on the other side. Gonna be right back. Doug Hagman, stay tuned. Doug Hagman sitting in for Alex Jones, InfoWars, Infowars.com. That's old Blue Eyes. I could have listened to that. In fact, I could have shut my mouth and just listened to that for the entire segment. I'm telling you, because we collectively are doing it our way. We are doing it our way. We are not going to submit to the narrative by the mainstream media. We're not going to submit to the CNNs of the world or the MSNBCs of the world. We're not going to submit to the jackbooted thug censorship that's taking place. You know, I watched with great interest Alex Jones speaking from his time with his family in a very snow-covered scenic area. And I just want to share something with you, all right? It actually brought a tear to my eye. And I'm not, look, there's not too much that brings tears to my eyes, but it actually brought a tear to my eye. Because when you, along with that song too, doing, you know, My Way by Frank Sinatra, look, when you're out there, when you're fighting the fight, when you're battling, when you're getting beat up, when you're in the ring, you're getting bloodied, and you're throwing punches, and punches are getting thrown back at you, and it's just a war every day. You get up, it's a war. You go to bed, it's a war. You wake up in the middle of the night, it's a war. And that's where we're at. Do not, and I cannot say this enough, do not underestimate the war in which we are engaged. And like it or not, you may say it doesn't affect me. I don't have a dog in this fight, so to speak. I'm not really affected by this war. Oh, yes, you are. And if really by some chance you're not already affected, you will be. Because see, I used to think, nah, you know, look, I'm really nobody. I'm not really affected by what's taking place. Well, wait a second. Yes, I am. Because like Alex, he's fighting a lawsuit every month. I'm fighting the same thing right now. All right. And I want people to understand. I want people to hear me. I'm fighting a defamation suit. I am fighting a lawsuit. It's public knowledge where I've been accused of being an operative for the Russians. I've been accused of peddling fake news like Pedogate. Since when has that been factually stated as fake news? I've been accused of, and this is not about me. So just hold on a minute. I've been accused of well, look, any number of things that are just absolutely beyond the pale. They're libelous. They're really, they're libelous. They're slanderous. They're untrue, and even to the extent where I've been advised that I could, in fact, because of my position, the conversations I've had of late, even appear before the Mueller investigative committee. Me. Okay. Now, here's why I said that. It's not about me. It's when I watched that segment with Alex Jones on from the ski slopes, and he was going through this. I understand, and I don't know how many people do understand. And Alex Jones will never tell you the real backstory. So I'm going to close this segment out by saying that the closer over the target that InfoWars gets, the closer over the target that we get. And if you've got, I don't care if you've got a YouTube channel that's got 2 viewers, 2 subscribers, 200 or 20 million. I don't really care. If you're out there every day making a difference, then you're in the game. And you're part of this, and you could very well be affected by this at some point, at some level. Saw Paul Joseph Watson's video, and I'm kind of going off script, off what I've had planned, but I think this is so important for people to understand. I'm passionate about this. Paul Joseph Watson depicting the families that have been split apart, not by the conservatives, the moral Christian conservatives, the people who believe, in fact, in the rule of law. No, the rending of the American biblical family, the rending of our culture is at the hands of the liberal fascists who are demanding that we conform to their ways, not ours. Families torn apart, members disowned by these social justice warriors. And if you haven't been affected yet, you will. It's just a matter of time. But we can fight back. We must fight back. And that's why I opened with Owen Schroyer by saying, those of you, and I mean this, those of you who have been blessed, who have been red-pilled, who have been, who have received much information from this platform, the InfoWars platform, and the entire InfoWars team, you need to stand up, not silently, not just sit there silently agree, but stand up with Alex Jones, with InfoWars, and with each and every one of us, whether we've got 2 people, 2 subscribers on YouTube, or 2 followers on Twitter, or just a couple on Facebook, but you need to stand with those people, and we need to fight, because now is the time to fight back. They have drawn the battle lines. We didn't draw first blood. They did. And we're not going to sit back and take it anymore. And this is why CNN, the MSNBC, the right-wing watch people, and the Southern Poverty Law Center, the ADL, all of these absolute insane people, in my view, the lobotomized people, again, the liberal fascists, what else are they? This is why they're fighting, because they can't fight on the facts, so they want to shut you up. And if they, in the process of shutting you up and shutting us up and shutting Alex Jones up, shutting InfoWars up, or attempting to, they're going to cause chaos, create chaos wherever they can, because part of that, filing a lawsuit, look, you think they think, well, we're probably not going to win, but you know what? We're going to cause as much damage as we can. And that has the damage, financial damage, especially the family damage, the chaos, the damage to people's health. It takes its toll. Am I speaking out of school? No. I'm just giving you some inside baseball. So if you think life is all roses, puppy dogs, and rainbows, sitting behind the camera or doing what Alex does or Owen Schroyer does or any member of the InfoWars team, let me tell you something totally different. It ain't. So get in the game. And speaking of that, there's no better time to get in the game with InfoWars Store, InfoWarsStore.com. Look, defeat the attempts to shut down, to crush InfoWars. Operation Paul Revere, week number 2, 2018 special, 30 to 80% off, site-wide. What more do you need? Go to the computer right now. Go to your phone, iPhone. I don't know how to work those things, by the way, the iPhones. But look, 30 to 80% off, site-wide, free shipping. You can't beat this. Okay, the Brain Force, my goodness, I love that product. The super male and female vitality. Notice that this is not by accident. Notice that they want to emasculate the alpha male. And Alex Jones has said this, and he's talked about this. Fight back. Super male, super female vitality. And all of the products, including Real Red Pill. Look, 50% off. You can't beat it. 30 to 80% off site-wide. You get the idea. Stand with InfoWars, and you can make a difference. So to wrap up what I was saying about what's taking place with the Inspector General, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, what is taking place there, Horowitz right now, contrary to what we've thought, yeah, he's not necessarily limited in scope now that he's got a prosecutor with us, or with him. And what you are about to see in the coming months, and I'm saying in the coming weeks, is a report that will expose the criminality that includes, but is not limited to, the email scandal, the crimes, email crimes. This is, by the way, this is not just limited to the crimes of the FBI or the DOJ or even of Hillary Clinton. This goes directly into the White House via Valerie Jarrett to Barack Hussein, I am a Muslim, Obama, and his Islamic converted CIA operative, Brennan, James Clapper, and all of the people at the executive level. This is more than a scandal. This is a crime. You know this. My investigation confirms this. And I'm telling you right now, they don't want any of this to be said. They don't want any of this to come out. And they're preparing you through these censorship maneuvers to really bring the hammer down. You think you saw something last week or the week before? You ain't seen nothing yet. I want you to stay tuned to InfoWars, the War Room. Stay right where you're at. Bookmark InfoWars. Follow it. Listen to what they've got to say every day. They're on the tip of the spear. They're the ones out there fighting the fight. I'm just so honored to be part of this, and I want to thank Alex Jones for allowing me to do so. Folks, support InfoWars. May God bless every one of you. Doug Hagman for Alex Jones. Good night.
This program contains language and sequences some viewers may find disturbing.
The nation and all of our freedoms hang by a thread, and the military apparatus of this country is about to be handed over to scum, who are beholden to scum, Russian scum.
Listen, please listen. If you don't, if you won't, if you fail to understand, and the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
The function of all life is survival. Sleep. Sleep. Sleep.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Lock the door! Lock the door!
They're coming! They're coming! Help! Help! They're coming! They're coming! Listen to me! Listen! Help me! You're next, please! Please! You're next! They're in danger! Please, listen to me! Something terrible! Please! You're next! Here they are! They're already here! Come! You're next! They're coming! They're coming!
Sleep. The seed is planted. Sleep. Sleep. Terror grows.
Elizabeth, wake up! Get you when you sleep! Sit up!
Invasion of the body snatchers.
All of a sudden, they're growing like parasites. Is it contagious?
Trump! Free all the homies!
It looked right at me. You need to get out.
You're looking at it as if it was human. It was not human.
Now, the classic fear begins to grow.
We're being cornered.
In a modern masterpiece of science fiction.
They're barricading the street.
Invasion of the body snatchers.
The land of the walking dead!
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the Resistance. It's Alex Jones.
Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine. If you're interested in healthy thyroid, if you're interested in well-being, if you're interested in having a higher IQ, which this has been linked to, get your powerful Survival Shield X2 at InfoWarsStore.com.